I did rock a fanny pack.
Yeah, I had a blue
I
one.
definitely did.
This is the Imperial Scrolls of Honor podcast. I'm Josh Folan,
And I'm Jay Baxter.
and we're going to be bullshitting about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. We are reading a piece of antiquated video game literature today. Bobby's dad just got a subscription to GamePro, and he's brought issue 7 with him on the bus ride to school today. And for the first time ever, having assigned seats with Booger Bobby is paying off. The link to the mag will be in the show notes, as it always is. And if you could, please rate and review the podcast. If you post it, we'll read it here, and it gives us validation and self-worth. First up, what are we jamming on now? Jay, what are you jamming on now?
2 games for once. This is the least amount of games I played in a week because work is busy. But yeah, Super Mario World 3D, still playing that with Jesse when we have time. So fun game. Yeah, just can't say enough great things about it.
Just as you were talking about not getting on your Switch.
Exactly.
Down here.
Exactly. It's the only game I play on my Switch if you discount Just Dance because that's just working out and Ring Fit. You know, those are pretty much just workouts.
Actually, I was looking at the controller on my living room table is like super dusty.
How things have changed. But yeah, and then NBA 2K21. It's on Game Pass now, but I bought it when it was on sale a couple weeks ago, right before that for like $19. I finally just gave in. It's just so fun. Like, just you need to play the game so you can come.
I saw
and play.
I have my own thing to say about this. I saw that because that and Madden are on Game Pass now.
Mm-hmm.
I downloaded Madden. I haven't played it yet. I downloaded it. The absolute maximum I would even think about paying EA for Madden is $0. So because it's $0, I downloaded it, and it took fucking forever to download. And like I tried to fire it up because, like, you know, Xbox will say like, oh, it's ready to go, and like you fire it up and it's not actually ready to go.
I always wait until it's fully 100%. I don't know why that happens, but I always wait.
Yeah, it would like let me. It was like letting me play an exhibition game between the like it knew, which was weird because this is a new Xbox. I've never even had an Xbox. I don't have an Xbox account. I don't know where it could have possibly gleaned this information. But I turn it on and it's like, you know, it asks you what your favorite team is, and the Bills were already selected, and the Bills are not first in the alphabet, so I don't know how they knew that. But so it asked me whether my team, and like I inputted that my team was the Bills, and then like it just started a game between the Falcons and the Packers, and I was like, is this a demo? What the fuck's wrong with this? And like I'm like, no, it's like the game is going. I'm like, I hit exit, I quit, and I go back, and it's like, oh, this is all you can do right now. So I haven't actually played it, but maybe I'll. The point of this being, maybe I'll try 2K21 too, because it's free.
I'm telling you, man, it's fun. I'm hooked again, and I'm mad at myself for being hooked again on this game. But it's a fun game. Like I love the My Team mode specifically, and I'm not talking about like creating your character and like that whole thing and all. I know there's several other modes that people love, but for me, it's all about the My Team.
If I did it, I would absolutely do that again because I loved that in every way except the gameplay.
That's so...
well, 2K20, I guess.
I don't know if it feels different to me, but like I just feel like I'm better. Maybe I'm used to it. I don't know.
I need you to tell me and be honest with me. If I can't shoot fucking layups with at least a 50% success rate, I'm gonna throw the Xbox off the fucking rail. So I need you to tell me very honestly whether or not you can shoot layups in the game at a realistic clip, or make them at a realistic clip.
I think you can. I only recently, as in like yesterday, started missing layups, but I think it's because I was having some Irish cream. I don't know what was going on, but I was missing layups and I was very upset. But like normally, I'm balling, and it's fun. Like creating your own team and your own arena. Like I still love playing against other people, even though I mostly still lose. I'm really good at the 3-on-3.
Oh god, I would.
But like go
playing
online. But that's what I mean. That's why it's fun to me. It's like, you're not always just going and getting annihilated. I love going into other people's arenas and seeing like how they did their team in their arena and like them coming to mine. It's just that to me is just the most fun thing. You know, like I love the My Career where you create your own single player. Like I've done that. I think we talked about it before for like 2K 15, 16, 17. But the My Team is just my jam now. So that's it.
Okay. Well, before I even get into games, I want to bring up that documentary I posted about the Playing with Power.
Mhm.
It's Nintendo focused. It's everything about the marketing and shit suggests it's incredibly Nintendo centric. I was actually impressed with how industry wide the focus was once I actually got into it. So I hesitate to call it the Nintendo doc, but it's kind of the Nintendo doc. And
Mm.
it's on Crackle, which is yeah, fucking. I had to download it. It's just awful app, but it's free, so whatever. Advertising, but yeah, the actual doc. It's 5 episodes. There may be, I think they're less than an hour each, but so not the most massive time commitment, but it's really fucking well done, dude. I would say, and I said this about that last doc that was on Netflix, the one like to me like I just have insatiably consumed so much useless video game knowledge already to date that like a lot of things like this I'll watch and like I know that. Everyone knows that. It's the first thing on the wiki page. Like you're putting no effort into this. You know what I mean? So like it's very easy for video game historical shit to do that, I think. And they do a great job of going deeper. And there's tons of shit that I'd never heard, seen. They really go into like there's a lot of archival footage and stuff. And maybe someone who is more versed in the Japanese side of it would view these things the same way. I did not, fortunately. But there's a lot of like, Japanese commercials and just a lot of Japanese media that I'd never seen before. That was Famicom stuff and stuff like that. It was really cool to see that. And they also do, and it's such a cool thing. They do like basically when he does this fantastic documentary filmmaker tactic or idea, basically solution for you're doing a documentary, you want archival footage to cover kind of everything you're talking about. Either that, if you're not on an interview, you want to be on archival footage. That's the yin and yang of documentary making for the most part. But because a lot of this stuff is older and they didn't have footage, they made these little miniature dioramas of just scenes, basically like the old Nintendo headquarters back when they were just a playing card company, and then like in the Nintendo offices and stuff like that. So they would have like these really detailed, super fucking cool looking, god damn it, I want some of these things, little dioramas of like various Nintendo, the warehouse where all the Donkey Kong machines were, that got
Oh yeah.
that America rolling, like stuff like that that no archival footage existed for. They would do those to visually convey what's being talked about in the interviews, and it's just super fucking cool. Really, really well done, and it's free. You can't really beat that. I was thinking maybe the director Jeremy Sneed. I was thinking maybe he's a good Order of Erdrick interview candidate, because I mean clearly if you fucking do 5 hours on this stuff as deep as he did, I'm sure he has shit to talk about that didn't make it into the doc, much like Blake did, for Console Wars. So I was thinking maybe that's a good person to reach out to, and he's a filmmaker, so I could probably fucking get him to listen to me. So,
Dude, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get on
See
that,
it.
John.
Yeah, I'll get on
Bring
it.
him on.
So definitely fucking drop it in your quay, dude. It's fucking it's
Nice.
a good watch, and like I said, not a terribly demanding commitment. It's actually got one of your Xbox bigwig boys in it. It's Spencer something or other. Spencer, I don't remember his last name. Spencer Long, maybe? I don't know. But I think Spencer Long's a fucking football player in the Jets. Not
Natural football reference.
But yeah, I forget what his title was, but I mean,
Phil Spencer, perhaps.
Maybe that could be it. Yeah, that might be it. Yeah.
The current head of Xbox. Probably makes sense with him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he was definitely he's a bigwig for sure. And he had a very, it's the only real thing I get out of my college degree, the Fisher College of Business at the Ohio State University, is just an endless, a bottomless well of dime store business terms, and like when I hear people just throwing those around, like I know like there's just because the thing, okay, I guess really what I'm getting at here is like I know I don't need to use those words to communicate. ideas about that stuff, but you use them just because you were taught them, and they sound like you really know what the fuck you're talking about. But you could easily convey the same information without so many of those words. And he could just tell like a lot of the shit out of his mouth. It's just like this very like he's been using these in fucking meetings, these words in meetings for fucking a decade, and he just uses them because it makes him sound like he fucking really knows it, but he doesn't need them. You know what I mean? And like I don't know, because I also have that background, I enjoy listening to people do that, and he does that a lot. Anyways, so yeah, definitely watch that. So I just want to get that out before I start talking about games. Okay, so you know how I recommended The Tourist, and I was like, you gotta fucking play this game. It is absolutely like nonstop fun. You will. It's like a mandate 100%. You will fucking. It's incredible.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. So I got another one that's the same deal.
Oh, here we go.
I'm Pikuniku, I think is the pronunciation.
Pikuniku.
Is okay.
Pikuniku.
Have you played that?
I have not. I just obviously working at Microsoft, I'm on calls, and I was on calls when I first started talking about this game because people were just like in the chat, like, "Oh, this is a great game. Pikuniku was great," but I've never played it because I'm like, I have no idea.
Super fucking fun, man.
Really?
It's got also much like Tourist, it's got a crazy cute art style. And there's an awesome sense of humor to the writing. So I fucking always love that. And it's just the gameplay is just they're just super fun. It's like Mario level, all the things you can do with your hat and shit in Mario. That's just like this it's super simple and straightforward, but just so varied and so fun. It's just like they just figured out how to make I've talked about with those fucking old game designers, like number one thing, make the activity that you have to repeatedly do, it has to feel fun or you're not going to care about anything else, and they just fucking nailed it. It's super, super fun. It's like the setting is, it's a corporate dystopia theme. And, I always fucking love those, where this robot company is basically ruining everything of this world. They're like exploiting everything and fucking just monetizing everything and like just fucking up the world. But all the inhabitants are like these cute cartoony characters. So it's a weird mashup in that regard, that there's like these really serious themes and tones and conversations happening, but it's happening in this ultra cute world, so that's interesting. And this company is like basically just giving everyone a ton of money and like to shut them up, like everything they rip, like as they rip shit out of the ground or take their water or rip their corn or whatever it is, they just throw money down out of these ships at them, and like everyone's like, oh, they're giving us money, it's cool. Don't fucking fuck it. It's just like it's a really funny expression of capitalism, basically. But it's got a super fun couch co-op mode too. That's always awesome. It's not like it's different than the one player story mode. You're not playing the same things, but it is still well done and super fun to play as a couch co-op. It's got 9 levels. Some of them are kind of like a racing deal where you get these little cars and race each other and shit. So that's fun. But yeah, the one player story is also fucking awesome. You find a Nintendo in one of the houses. There's just a lot of little shit that's just really good and really smart and really well done. And I just cannot recommend it enough. The second I started playing it, every free second I had, I played it until I did everything. Just like with Tourist.
Wow.
Can't put it down. Gotta finish this. I'm not gonna do anything else till it's done. Like, this is fucking great, and then you're sad when it's over, so that's I think the perfect compliment for a video game. So yeah. How do you say it again?
Pikuniku.
Yeah.
That's one of those hidden gems then, because people would talk about it, but I saw the art and I was just like, whatever.
Yeah, when you get into it too, the art.
I forgot about it.
You'll love the art once you really get going in it, because it's just, I don't know. Yeah, that's simplistic. I don't know. Just fucking, it's good game design, man. So yeah, I played the shit out of that, beat that. Amy and I beat Grim Fandango, or maybe I should say more aptly, we Googled our way to the end of it. So I got that out of my life, which is good. Nice. And then the major thing to talk about, dude, Spiritfarer. Have you played Spiritfarer on Game Pass?
No, I've seen you playing it quite a bit.
Nonstop, yeah. I probably put 50 hours this week. Dude, it is absolutely beautiful animation. Like, I don't think I've ever played a game on top of that beauty, like the aesthetic of it. I don't think I've ever played a game that does a better job of conjuring emotional, like an emotional response to the characters and story. Like it's so focused on that aspect. And like at first I was like, I felt like I thought it was like what's the it seems like busy work, and like because you're thinking about it like a video game, but once you get into the story, like it's focus on emotionally connecting with each of the characters that you deal with in the game is fucking incredible, dude. It's so well done. Like the idea is that the game starts and you don't really even know what happened. You just kind of like come to consciousness, and the old River of Styx ferryman is telling you you're now going to take over a boat on this river, and you're going to help recently deceased souls and shepherd them to closure on their lives before they move on to the next phase of whatever the hell you believe in, right? So super deep, or super heavy, I guess I should say,
right?
Subject matter. Again, kind of contradicting what is just a beautiful world, So these characters, you encounter these characters, and once they reveal themselves as needing your help, you bring them onto your boat, and they all the like people, or all the inhabitants of this world they kind of have this like stock look to them to some degree. Like, I mean, they may be tall, skinny, short, whatever, but it's like this weird humanoid kind of figure. But once you bring them onto the boat, they transform into an animal expression of their personality. So you have everyone on your boat is some kind of animal, and usually there's like some sort of interesting, cute thing. Like there's like a big bull character who is in real life in his life was a like a mafia heavy, and he has a split personality disorder. So he talks about himself in like him and his brother, but he doesn't fucking know that he's only talking about himself, So you like, and that's the thing. Like everyone has like the dude. I don't even know where to begin. Kind of, it's like everyone is like they're incredibly complex characters with like really fucking brutally human elements to them that are so well done and so well filled out. There's just nothing about any one of the characters that is like kitschy, or you feel like it's just a trope or an archetype. They're so fucking well done. And again, it focuses on these interactions you have with them, and like the whole tree of progression in the game forces you through these things where you learn about them, and they tell you stories that are so fucking. One of the guys told this story about fucking he was in, and like he's like kind of an unlikable character too, so it was like a turn on how you feel about him, and that anytime you can do that in storytelling, that's great. And like, so yeah, he like told this story about how he was in the military, and his I almost feel like I'm kind of spoiling this, but it's so good. Whatever. It's only one story. There's a million other. If you feel like I'm spoiling this for you, there's a million other incredible moments in this game. So don't worry about it. But he like tells a story where him and his platoon or whatever are out in the field, and they were hungry as fuck. They hadn't eaten in a while, or they were eating bullshit or something, and they stumbled onto this like cache of food or something, and as they were like getting into it and they were going to cook it, and it was like spaghetti. It was pasta. They found this pasta with spaghetti sauce, fucking some way or another, and they were about to cook it, and one of the guys gets blown up by a fucking landmine as they're like going to cook it. And he tells a story about how this guy, this fucking soldier who's a kid, and he's like I'm not going to give you the full details, but like I'm holding his fucking innards in my hands as the guy's talking to me, and he's like the young kid, the soldier tells him like, don't let anyone have some of my. I'm about to cry telling the story, dude. I cried the other day. I'll tell you the story. I cried the other day about another thing too. But like fucking, he's like, don't tell anyone, or don't let anyone eat my portion of the fucking pasta. And it's the last thing he said. He died. And like, that's the end of the story. And you just go back to your fucking thing. So that's happening with these characters, right? And that story, the story element of, is woven into an amazing resource management and building system that manifests itself in the form of building and improving your boat. Like, it's kind of somewhat unrealistic, actually, how massive you eventually build your boat, and the idea that you're supposedly traversing this kind of river thing. I mean, you know, the map is more of an ocean, but whatever, that doesn't matter. It's a huge ass boat, so you have to like build these buildings, you have to learn how to craft things, and like there's complex crafting systems. Honestly, it's like it's probably as I bitch about the Witcher crafting system, but I care about this one. You know, like this one's like every bit as complex, if not more so, but I care about it. It's interesting and it makes sense, and it happens in a way that's like this gradual teaching progression that you can actually wrap your mind around it, as opposed to Witcher that kind of just dumps you into it and you got to figure it the fuck out, and you have no idea. There's no guidance. You know, like that's the thing. Like each one of the characters come on board and they have a real life expertise, so they help you. They teach you how to do these things that are part of your resource management system, you know, and building system. So, fucking well done, dude. Yeah, like another stuff. Like, I was playing Sunday, dude. Tear the fuck up. And like, this isn't a story they tell, so I'm not revealing story here, but you help you have this old lady character, and has advancing Alzheimer's throughout your time with her, right? And by the end of it, she thinks you are her daughter. You play this young black, like your avatar is this young black girl, and you have a hat. She gives you a hat, and like the hat reminds her of her daughter, and she starts getting into this world. She thinks you're her daughter, so you spend the tail end of it like helping her around. She talks to you like you're her daughter and shit, and she just has no idea where she's at, who you are, yada yada yada. And each time you help one of these characters move on, you have to go to this area, this river, and you slowly row them down the river, and they tell you a few little more stories, and then they go. And you're rowing down the river, and she's talking to you like you're her fucking kid, da 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 da, and then you get to the very fucking end, dude, and she like snaps into clarity, and she knows who she knows who you are. She knows who she is. She knows that she's been out of it, and she has an exchange with you, and fucking goes, dude. And dude, I'm fucking crying again, like Niagara fucking Falls.
What?
Man. I was fucking like just like trying to not let Amy see, like fucking. Whoa. I was fucking crying my ass off, dude. I don't know, man. It's fucking. It's probably the best game story I've ever seen. It's fucking.
Wait a minute.
It's incredible.
The game has made you cry multiple times. It's got you crafting stuff. Like what? I never thought.
It's so fucking good, dude. It's such an honest portrayal of the good and bad that people have in them, and how neither side of that coin should define someone. Like it just does it. I know that's heady as fuck, but it just absolutely fucking nails that. Like I just cannot stress enough how human everyone is. All the characters are. It's so fucking good, dude. And you know, and it's like, and it's not like, I mean, you know, like, 'cause I've been playing 50 hours this week. This is not the first week I played it. It's got like substance to it. It's a long game. I actually found a new character. Like, I thought I was almost done. I should have known better based on fucking clues, but I thought I was almost done, and like I'd gotten everyone, and no, I just fucking found a new character last night. So, yeah, dude, incredible game, incredible. I cannot, and it is like, dude, it's like Animal Crossing Harvest Moon level busy work. Like the chores that you got to deal with are fucking. It's just a clinic in tedium. Like, oh, I don't know, not in a bad way, but just like in that, like, it is repetitive. You got to water these. You have like crops. You got to water the crops. You got to fucking milk the cow. You got to feed the cow. You got to feed the sheep. Got to fucking mill the fucking grain. You got to fucking build. You got to forge things in the foundry. You eventually, like, one of the late stage things is a blacksmith. You got to take the alloys, and you got to hammer. You got to put them into the fucking kiln, and then you got to hammer them out on the fucking thing. You got to loom. And like each one of those little things has its own little kind of mini game that you execute the processing of the materials with. So like I think the one I like the most is probably the log one. So the sawmill you have, you take the logs in, and to get planks out of it, which, you know, is a major building block for a lot of things, of course. Like you put them in the machine, and then there's a thing up top you can see the logs going by on, and each log has like this kind of like line through it, and then the line changes log to log, like just the pattern of the line, and you have to take this, what is in essence the saw, the blade of the saw, and you need to drag the saw on the line as the log is auto scrolling, you know. So like it's hard, you know, or not. It's not hard, but it requires focus and effort. It's kind of like I was talking about with Dragon Quest, that the crafting system for Dragon Quest, how like it's like a super stupid little mini game, but it's somehow it definitely incentivized because you get more resources, obviously, if you do it well. So like it incentivizes you to do it right, and it is a mechanic that is fun. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a lot of the loom is the same thing. Like each thread or fabric that you make in the loom has it has the thing going like this, and you need to it has a little cursor that's like the sweet spot, and then an acceptable range in general outside of that sweet spot. And each material, the more precious ones, have smaller things and stuff. So you need to each pass for each processing of each resource going in, you have to you're trying to hit that cursor perfectly, you know what I mean? And it gives you a little and like it has a little light. It's just like it gives the rat the fucking pellet perfectly. It's fucking so good, dude. Yeah, man, it's a really, really good game that I highly, highly recommend. So let's talk about GamePro 7.
That is the Kings of the Beach menu theme bringing us back in.
I fucking love this cover, dude.
Right?
It reminds me of the old school California Raisins claymation.
Yes. I was gonna say the exact same. Like it has to be like the same artist or like derivative, like something. Like it's way too close.
Something about their teeth, like it's just something about it is very reminiscent of that to me.
Especially the football and the hockey puck, like the really big puffy features, you know.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird too. The weird thing about it to me is how the basketball is like half. It seems like half. Like everything else is like very clearly illustration drawn, but it looks like that top half of the basketball could be like a live action basketball. But that's the only part of it. Yeah, it's weird, right?
It's like the weird triangle behind it kind of cuts the plane and like changes the artwork, but it doesn't.
The thing is, what's going on there. The other edges of that triangle don't do that to the other things. It's kind of is what's weird about it.
Yeah, they just.
I don't know. In any event, have you ever seen the California Raisins Christmas special?
Did I? I feel like I would have as a kid.
It's a whole bunch of musical vignettes. They're all We Three Kings. They go through all the different.
Maybe I haven't then.
It's definitely on YouTube. It's probably my number 2 '80s Christmas special behind Garfield. It's good.
What?
Good. It's really fucking good.
That's high praise, man.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely better than like the Charlie Brown one or.
What?
I hate all the Charlie Brown. I don't hate them, but I don't. They're like nowhere near as good as the Garfield ones to me. They always played them back to back. In any event, this is the February 1990 issue. The cover price is $3.95, and yes, the artwork features very expressive anthropomorphized sports balls: basketball, football, baseball, tennis, and a hockey puck. And the headline reads "Insane Sports Issue," and then followed by "Put yourself in the middle of the latest action." And the other bullet points are 24 pages of wild sports titles, bases loaded, Game Boy. And this is the only thing on the list that specifies the system. And I wonder what's up with that. Like, you know what I mean? Well, why is... I don't know. That's weird. That's the only one. But
maybe Bases Loaded wasn't out for the other systems yet, and so they just wanted to...
Definitely out for NES. And actually, we get into Bases Loaded 2. That's a topic to talk about later. Is now out, too. So... And that's not it for sure.
Well, maybe they were just promoting that specific one since it's
like very possible.
Game Boy, Game Boy was more released.
Right, that Jalico paid them. That's probably as is always the case. Money is always the best answer. They also are touting Walter Payton football here, Arnold Palmer golf, Black Bass fishing, Final Lap twin. The next headline after that is handhelds, games on the move, and lastly, free game, Wind Chiller. See page 93. Huge piece of shit. We'll talk about that later.
I did not even notice, honestly, that said Wind Chiller. So when we get to the chiller, I was very confused. I'll tell you.
Okay. Yeah. I forgot that it was on the cover until I went I was posting videos from that game and shit. Like I thought about it so much, I was like, oh wait a minute, they were talking about that on the fucking cover. You gotta be kidding me. So into the mag, we are first confronted with a brand spanking new full pager from Taito for Demon Sword on the NES. And looking at this ad, I thought this might be new, but looking it up and seeing screenshots, we fucked with this before, and it's not particularly good. It's other than an impressive title screen featuring the Demon Sword. You can see on the box art, and it kind of looks like a grill shish kebab, but more badass probably. It didn't have really much worth touting. It's a side view action platformer with some light RPG development stuff jammed into it. I do like in the ad, it says actual Nintendo Entertainment System screens. They have that line of like fine print above the screenshots as if they're so impressive looking you might think they're not. You know, they look. Don't worry, they look like NES. You don't need a fucking.
It's funny too because this is like an old school ninja game, like with the super jumps from like the ninjas in the '70s, like the old Kung Fu Masters. Like it had that feel to me. Yeah, like it's weird that like Demon Sword is like a Conan looking guy on the cover with a big sword, but like playing the game, I was like, I feel like I'm in a '70s Kung Fu movie with super jumping.
Like Legend of Cage, fucking.
Yeah, just so different.
Right. Yeah. It's probably, I can't remember who made Legend of Cage. Maybe it's Taito. They probably just reskinned it with this shit.
Right. It's not a bad game, but man.
It's not. Yeah. It's not horrific, but it's just like another platformer. You know, it's like there's nothing special about it at all. Other than that cool title screen. So after that, we get a few more ads. We've already seen another Taito for Operation Wolf, Acclaim's Iron Sword, Activision's Stealth ATF, Jellicoe's Goal, and then we get a full pager from Absolute for A Boy and His Blob. And we have not seen this ad yet, and I kind of want to talk about it for a second. It has a few jelly beans with the words "toss one and see what happens." It's the hard pitch up top, and then a quote that's supposedly from Nintendo Power is up here too. It says it's mega hot, and just like that Go-Go 13 ad. I want to say I think it was the last issue where they had the Nintendo Power quote that was like, "I don't think Nintendo
that's
Power."
That's questionable.
Yeah, I don't remember ever seeing that Nintendo Power at all. I definitely don't remember seeing it in relation to that game. I think you're just making that shit up. And like, it's funny to me that I don't think, like the reason, like I totally believe that could be the case. So I don't think anyone would have cared back then. Like you couldn't get away with it now. Like that shit would get like tweeted and retweeted and reddited, and you'd get fucked, and some of you get sued 10 times. Like, but back in the 80s, like, or even early 90s, like, fucking say whatever you want.
Like we're promoting your game. This is what, like, you know. I'm sure that's what they wanted to happen in the first place, you know. So like, yeah, go ahead, hype it up. Like that's what we're paying you to do. I don't know.
Yep. So they have 6 screenshots demonstrating what is far from the game's strongest attribute. It's murky artwork. Here to show off the blob's various forms. Like you give him the jelly beans, he turns into shit. So they show that stuff off. So again, creative game, not a good game though, unfortunately. Actually, it gets its own cover, I think, coming up soon. So we'll talk about it more. But or no, I don't think it gets cover, but it does have a big feature.
On like I feel like on a Nintendo Power does, because this is a game that it seems like they expected to be bigger than it was.
Yeah, well, it's David Crane, you know, he's the Pitfall
Who's
legend.
that? I don't even know.
He's the Pitfall legend. He's those guys I interviewed. He's the Activision. He's the Activision.
Pitfall was the game back in the day. So it makes sense.
This is probably his biggest NES thing. You know, it was Gary Kitchen 2. So yeah, it definitely had high expectations for sure. And I think they had a great idea. And that's even, you know, I have an episode of that Batteries Not Included thing with the Gary interview that was titled like the greatest idea we ever had or something like that, you know, as far as like the nugget, the kernel of the concept is brilliant. The jelly beans, the blob, using him as tools, stuff like that's great, but the visual of it and the controls are pretty rough. So after that, Sega comes in hot with yet another new 3-page spread right before the table of contents, and this baby follows the same format as their other big 3-pagers, and it's got the bold text page to start, and then a 2-page spread showing the system and a new feature game. And in this case, the text page reads, "Now you can fight attack dogs, machine gunners, thugs, samurai, and tanks, all in the privacy of your own home." And as you might assume, this is referring to Revenge of Shinobi coming out recently. So that's what they feature in the top half of the 2-page spread after that. And they have a little screenshot from each of the first 7 levels, each with its own little text blurb beneath it, and then a big pitch paragraph selling the Genesis movement on the whole on the right-hand side there. And there's more in here on the Telegenesis modem peripheral that never actually makes it out that I find super interesting, and I kind of I wish it would have, because that would have been something I probably would have talked my way into, and that it probably would have had some cool shit, I imagine. So I never had, like, I was out of Genesis by the time, because they had that Sega TV shit real late Genesis lifespan where you could actually download games and stuff. But I think I was out of Sega by then, so I didn't get that. But if they'd had this modem early on, I probably would have been able to download some cool shit. Next, you'll be able to play against friends across town or in other cities. That's how they pitched that thing that they never released.
Dude, I remember the idea of that was like amazing. Like, what? I can play with my cousins who live 30 minutes away?
I mean, you know, like, you couldn't do that reliably on a system until
I know.
I mean, the fucking
I don't know. I didn't do
Did
it
you do that on the first Xbox? PlayStation 3 that would have been with the first Xbox, or PlayStation 2 with the first Xbox? I don't know the Xbox timeline.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't have one until the one.
Right. And that's the second one. I don't even know their.
No, it was Xbox. It was the Xbox, the original one, and then the Xbox 360. I think
360, and then the one.
Xbox One. Yeah.
Copy that. Yeah, and then they have the Borderline full software lineup down below there that has a ton of different games in it that give us a lot of Genesis freedom of game choice at the end of every episode of one of these mag episodes, which is cool. And then we get the table of contents. How bad are the cropping jobs for the photos this month? Terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible.
As usual.
Yeah, I haven't changed that. And after that, we get that tired hell nonsense sandwiching the letter from the editor. And in this, they declare this sports spectacular issue the first of what will be an annual event moving forward. And that's, in the long run, I think not exciting to hear. By the end of this issue, I am sad about what this issue is structured around. But anyways, they're also starting a reader rating system that they mention here, and they start by asking that you send in ratings to your favorite sports shits, and we'll get to that later when we actually see it in the mag. It's kind of interesting little thing they do, or they're not doing. And then it is mail time. Justin Lamaze of Lincoln Park, Michigan, is doing proper due diligence on the 16-bit era product offerings and wants to know which of the Genesis and TurboGrafx has the best third-party developer support. And I'd say their answer is leading, at least for what would actually transpire long term. Like this much support may have been the plan early on, but I mean, the Genesis would end up blowing the TurboGrafx out of the water on this front. So, like, I don't know. I feel like they make it seem even in their answer, you know? And if Justin made a decision based on that answer and chose the TurboGrafx, he was probably super upset long term about their third party, because that was like the TurboGrafx, I'd say, biggest shortcoming is a lack of good software. So
yeah,
at least
they had to kind of appear impartial. You would think.
Sure.
Otherwise, like, I'm sure TurboGrafx, they would immediately lose any kind of credibility.
But the thing is, like, I mean, like the thing is, like, I'm not doing the work, and like maybe they were at least each one of those developers got one title the system at some point, so it's not a straight up lie. But I feel like saying that all of those developers are going to be supporting the system throughout its lifespan is not true. You know, so I feel kind of bad for Justin if got fucked on that. We'll never know, unless Justin, if you're listening, write in and let us know how fucking sad that letter ended up making you or not making you in the long run. And we also have Eric Metzner of Dade City, Florida, is conversely worried Sega is going out of business and that his recent SMS acquisition was, quote, a dumb move. Which, yeah. Yeah. And what this means is Eric clearly does less research than Justin does before making large purchases.
Oh, sorry, Eric. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Don't tell you, buddy.
Yeah, and the last one that was notable to me was Robbie McIntyre in Newburgh, West Virginia, and he is crazy fired up about GamePro. I almost subscribed to Nintendo Power, but then I was guided by the light from your magazine, and I just can you just imagine how much they were jerking off to this letter at GamePro headquarters? You know, like,
yes, that's immediately in the mag. Put it in the mag.
Yeah, right. Like, I was going to subscribe to Nintendo Power, but chose not to. went the GamePro angle. So yeah, that might be all of them. Are there any others?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, they fucking talked about all of them. After that, we get a handful of full pagers. Taking up the next few pages, a Vic Tokai game called simply Kid Cool. It would actually be released in March as Kid Cool and the Quest for the Seven Herbs. And the artwork here falls under the 80s cocaine creativity as well, harking back to our last episode. It's got magicians, dragons, cool dudes in sunglasses and leather vests, etc., etc. This is like insane
stuff.
Yeah, insane Big Trouble in Little China mashup of concepts. So that's funny. And the screenshots look absolutely fucking lame, so I'm glad it's not out yet and I have to deal with it. But
I played it. I had no idea.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Okay. It's not terrible. It's like an interesting kiddie platformer. You know what I mean? Like, has big sprites and colors, but the jumping is annoying, and it's just kind of like, yeah, maybe my son might enjoy it a little bit, but yeah.
So I did not
nothing to talk about.
Vic Tokai is not most of their games are pretty bad. So
they're not batting that out of the park.
Especially an action platformer. Like, that's probably the worst part about that Golgo 13 game. Of all the terrible parts of that game, the worst one is the side-scrolling platform shit. So,
and the jumping is annoying, and that's generally like a death knell for a platform. It's like, the jumping sucks, I'm not playing that.
Like, right? Yeah. Obviously, the need for this mechanic is in the name of the game, so you should probably spend a little time on that, or the genre of the game, I should say. So after that, we get that badass Double Dragon 2 ad from Acclaim, then our first appearance of a Tiger Electronics LCD handheld ad. As much we've talked about these a bunch, but we haven't actually seen any advertising for them. And this one is for Ninja Gaiden, and it is bringing us to it kind of like leads us into the cutting edge section on, you guessed it, LCD handhelds, and that's why they're advertising there. And I'm kind of impressed with how truthfully, referring to the Ninja Gaiden ad, I mean, with how truthfully, but yet how well lit the screenshots are. And by that I mean, like, they don't try, like, they're well lit, you can see them really well. So it's not like they're trying to hide it, but they also aren't over-grandizing them. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a realistic portrayal of just, it's, you know, I don't know. Like, they could definitely have doctored those up in some way or shape or form that make them look like not just those shitty LCD games. So,
but if they did that, then it would completely lose confidence the minute you got it. You'd be like, "What is this?"
But,
like, it was already that way anyway.
You don't have to worry about that. Once they drop the dough, especially a kid like you know, I forget what we talked about. We talk about all the time, like, the taking the games back. Like, you don't, as a kid, you didn't, like, even if you were disappointed, I think most kids are not going back to their parents and trying to, like, you don't want to, like, it's more important to not diminish faith in your opinion next time you're at the store than it is to replace this one bad decision. You know what I mean? You don't want to lose. You don't want client. You don't want faith in your client, or you don't want your client to lose faith in you. You know? So I think once you make the sale in the 80s and 90s, it doesn't matter, you know? So this deceptive advertising, super easy then, way less backlash.
Oh, man. And I'm just being cynical after the fact. I mean, clearly at the time, it was still Ninja Gaiden. I still wanted to like it. It was still like my only, and yeah, until I got an actual Game Boy, like these type of games and the Acclaim ones, like, once I got them, it was just like, yes, let me play video game by handheld, even though they weren't amazing.
I don't think, like, people always like compare, like, I never, even as a kid, I never compared. They were completely separate concepts to me. They're much more of just a one-off thing that you could, like, literally, because, you know, like, your Game Boy was a thing. Like, it had, you know, my Game Boy came in a case with all its games. I never, like, just dropped my Game Boy into my backpack, like, willy-nilly, and let it fly around and get all fucked up. It had to stay in its cushy case and stay super mint condition, because that was a valuable, important piece of technology. Whereas these things were some shit I would just toss in my book bag and, like, have, like, my Double Dragon one would just sit in my fucking book bag. So whenever you wanted to, like, you know, and they were easier to hide, it was just less of a thing. There's no cartridges. It's just way more seamless and quick, you know. So they were never competing things to me as a kid.
Dude, we had different completely experience. I only got these until I had a Game Boy, and I never touched these again, because it was like, so we would travel a lot, like, as a kid. Like, every year we were going on long, like, cross country type travels, And so like, especially a lot of them, we would drive and then fly. So we would like drive from Columbus to Atlanta and then take a flight from Atlanta to Jamaica or Bahamas. And so in the car for hours, like until I had these, it was just toys, or books. And so once I got these, it was like I got a game.
I had this little travel board game thing that was fucking awesome, dude. It was like a travel kit, so it had a drawer with all the little pieces in it and the little tiny dice and shit. And then the top of it you could slide out and slide in different board game checkers, chess.
Oh, I think I've seen that. Yeah.
It was fucking awesome. That was my car thing of playing that with my mom and shit.
Dude, it was these things until the Game Boy. But whenever I got the Game Boy, I never touched them again. Because I was just like, next level, no longer need these.
I only had
kind of a step up.
I only had two to begin with. I said before, but I just had the pinball and then the Double Dragon one. So I didn't have a ton of them to begin with.
Dude, I had a super old, like you posted something on the Facebook page about, like, I think it was the old football game, like
we'll
that
talk
old.
About it, play-by-play baseball. We'll talk about it.
I had a super old basketball version like that. There was just like red dots.
Oh yeah, well the Mattel one, the football, that white Mattel football one. I had that too. That was my dad's toy, and like that's one of the first. That's like a famous toy that is I think is one of the first electronic handheld toys ever. Mattel made, but the football one was super popular, and just the red dots, and actually you could punt, like it was such a shitty game.
Was my jam.
Yeah,
I loved that. Yeah. I never played the football.
I never saw the basketball one, but yeah, I had the football. Yeah, those are like those are super easy to find a ton on the internet. Those are super famous toys, if only in part because they were made by Mattel, so they were fucking everywhere, back then.
But this was like the step up to that. Like I had that and I got this. I was like, oh, okay. Looks like an actual spray, to some extent. This is a ninja.
Yeah, I had a little more intermediary stuff. I had this like a little. There are these. They were like miniature arcade cabinets. I had a Pac-Man one that was red dots. They were like little cabinets, like this big, And they had a bunch. There was a Frogger one. I remember there were a bunch of those. But I actually watched a video one time of some guy take them apart, clean them, fucking refurbishing them. I watched like a whole 30-minute video of some dude taking them apart and like redoing. He like reprinted the stickers, and it was like, I don't know, wildly satisfying to watch him do it. I think of the Donkey Kong one. He did, and those were cool too. I had those. That was kind of a to-go thing that came right before probably I got these LCD handhelds. I had a lot of water games where you just push remember those? You push the fucking push the button.
Those were annoying.
I had a basketball. Actually, I had a basketball one of those that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, to keep.
Yeah, and you
come on, get it.
The fucking thing. Yeah, I had a bunch of little ring ones and she had a bunch of those. I had these mechanized things. They were like they were called Things. Actually, was the brand name of them. And there was probably the most popular one was one. It was a little green frog, and there was a tree next to the frog that would spin, and these pink flies would hang from the tree, and it would spin, and you would hit the button, and the frog would go up and pull. You're trying to pull the flies off the. There were a bunch of them. There was a one when there was a knight, and you had to take his sword and pop these little metal rings off this thing.
Oh yeah.
They were all based on like a little motor that turned something, and then something that was trying to grab shit off of it. There was a whole line of those. I had a bunch of shit that was the intermediary before handheld video games. Car rides and shit. Anyhow, the Cutting Edge tries to further this idea. In their closing paragraph of this feature, it says, handhelds won't make you trash your NES, but they're no bench warmers either. That's how they put it. So, ever so.
I had so many of these, dude. So many of these.
Yeah,
I had the NFL football one. I had Road Race. I had WrestleMania. WrestleMania.
You got a lot of those Acclaim ones?
Yeah. WrestleMania was my jam.
Those are all. They always. They looked, even as a kid, they looked janky to me. Like I was like, no, I'm good on those.
I was a huge wrestling fan as a kid. Like not like I stopped caring once I got to like age 16 or 17. But like, yeah, as a kid, I was like, give me the WrestleMania. Like that was because it was WrestleMania.
And that's exactly why Acclaim got away with them being shittier, because they were big on the licensing. They had like not even like the Tiger ones. They had Ninja Guy. They had games, but Acclaim went full on. They like licensed like other media properties like wrestling and NFL football and shit like that. So yeah, they probably got a lot of kids hooked on that basis.
Sure.
They have Tiger, Konami, and Acclaim ones here, and there's a big focus on the sports titles, of course, in line with the cover story of the issue. A couple little copy things I liked in the big fun in small packages section on the first page there. So one part reads, like their predecessors, this new generation of handhelds is compact enough to fit in your gym bag, your fanny pack, or even your back pocket. Jay, did you ever rock a fanny pack?
I did rock a fanny pack.
Yeah, I had a blue
one. I definitely did.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I had a Pizza Hut fanny pack at one point. I definitely had just like so we would go to like flea markets as a kid because you could get like cheap Nintendo games and cheap Atari games. I'd be like so excited.
Sports cards, CDs and tapes and shit, the bootleg tapes and shit we used to get. Jamie's Flea Market, that's what mine local was called. What was yours called?
What was I think it was like the South Side Flea Market or something. Yeah, it was like
that sounds super good. That's great.
Memories of taking my dollars and my coins and trying to get a cheap California games.
Yeah, you want to, it'd be a pocket. I said this before. I think we talked about Ruse extensively, the shoes. But yeah, pockets were very important to me as a kid. I don't know why. I don't know what the fuck I needed to store, but I know having the option was super critical to me as a kid.
You're kidding me? My daughter walks around with stuff all the time. So yeah, it's just like a kid. You make stuff, you find stuff you want to collect.
It's a little bit of privacy. You know, it's your fanny pack. Only you know what's in there.
Might need stuff for later. You never know what the day's gonna hold.
Man. Life's crazy. Shit flies at you. You gotta be ready. Yeah, and then another blurb I liked. Don't worry, all the games have sound controls, so you can play without disturbing anybody or getting caught. And because fuck yes, playing these babies in the back of class. That's also the double again talking about the seamlessness, the quick come and go, turn it off, play. Easier to, you don't have to deal with things like cartridges and like other accessories. It's just like it's all there in the one little thing. So you could hide it, take it out of your pocket, your book bag, your Trapper Keeper, whatever, and play that shit in the back of class. Much easier, I think, than you could a Game Boy, you know? So yes. And then you run the risk of them ending up locked in the teacher's bottom desk drawer for the next semester if you fuck it up. So being able to hide them or do them without getting caught is very important.
I had very different ideas at school. I'd never brought mine to school.
Really? Oh my god, dude! Video games all I want.
That's great.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I told the story before. I was fucking renting my Game Boy out in 4th grade. I almost got expelled for like taking kids' lunch money and shit.
Building an enterprise. You're an enterprising young man. Should be celebrated.
Absolutely. That's my uncle came to school and said that to the principal. Like, yeah, what do you like? They explained the thing to him. He's like, what's the problem? Like, sounds fucking brilliant to me. I don't know. Like, what do you mean? Like, he's got like a little price list on a little notepad. Like, this sounds fucking incredible.
You're organized. Like, it sounds like
life skills. Business to me. Sounds like me. Like, we might need to get him a tax advisor. Is what it sounds like to me. Fucking, not that he should be getting suspended. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
After that, we get a couple ads, Game Pros, and like their proprietary subscribe to our mag shit, and then that weird Color Dreams ad with the shitty unlicensed NES library games that we talked about. And that takes us to Pro Classics, and this is sports, of course, and they're going with the OG Track and Field from Konami on the NES. And the sequel had a Nintendo Power cover in the first year of the mag, so we fucked with that a little bit when that was the case. But I don't think I'd ever tried this first one, to be honest with you, Have you ever played this game? The first one?
I'd never played it.
It's an Olympic mini game, Olympic event mini game, of course, as the cover would insinuate. And I tried fucking with it. The ROM, I think our ROM's busted, or the ROM I have is busted in that library. Like, I couldn't get it. I don't know. Like, I don't care enough about the underlying sports to begin with, which really are all just activities by my measure. They're not even sports, and that's a whole. If you want to hear my long, narrow-minded opinion on that, I think actually I talked about it extensively in that Track and Field 2 episode, Nintendo Power Issue 3 episode. I give my full spiel on why Olympic sports are just activities and not sports. But I tried playing the game, and I don't know, man. It's not working for me.
I think I also, as a result of that, picked up Track and Field 2 and was playing that. And I was still just kind of like, I feel like I need rapid fire. Like I was playing the fencing.
They're just mini games. Yeah, absolutely. Like the second one looks great. Like the visuals of it are awesome. But yeah, the gameplay, like each one of them are like, yeah, they seemed like super. I remember thinking they looked like super. They seemed like super nuanced mini games that you would have to read the instruction booklet for each one to be able to properly play. Like I remember playing the swimming one and just not being able to do it.
Yeah,
like, not
why is this not working?
yeah, and it's because I'm sure you have to alternate. Who the fuck knows? There's only so many buttons. You'd think it'd be super easy, but I couldn't get the first one to even work that well. So whatever, probably not that fun of a game, I would guess, if you are able to get it to work. And after that, we get Hot at the Arcades, and this is also sports titles, as you might imagine. We have Center Court from Sega, which is a tennis joint, and I never played it, and I don't ever recall noticing it, but that is very possibly because I would never give the slightest hint of consideration to playing a tennis game in an arcade. So that's probably what's up with that. The other one is Tournament Cyberball from Atari, and I don't know, I didn't know, I guess, what Cyberball was, but it's described here as a sci-fi heavy metal football in the copy, and that sounds interesting to me. And there was no screenshot in my super interesting random thing. The screenshot or the scan rather in the magazine I have, or the scan of the magazine that I have, has the screenshot actually cut out. It looked like someone used a fucking straight razor, like the kid, I guess, that had this issue. Literally cut out the screenshot of this game, and I so badly want to know the story of what the kid's mindset was when he did that. Because you just know it's an insane, crazy ass kid thing that he's doing with it, and that's clearly just a random little thing. But anyway, so I couldn't see what it was, so I actually pulled up a play vid to get a look at it, and it's actually called Cyberball 2072 on release, and it doesn't look like a bad football sim for the time. It's like a top-down vertical perspective that I would say is very reminiscent of those early Madden games, as far as it plays and how it looks. And you can pick plays on both offense and defense, so there's way more strategy than Tecmo Bowl in that regard. And there is reading the copy here, there's a real-time team management aspect of your robot players. So you earn money in game as you play and make good plays or whatever that fund improvements of your players on the fly, like at quarter and halftime breaks and shit. And that is really interesting, I think, for an arcade game, like that level of control and management style. And it also says in here that it has fucking microtransactions, dude, that you can drop quarters to basically buy the money to improve players and get the in-game currency while you play. So what that means is, if you were playing this game against a rich kid, he could just fire quarters in there, make the fucking team better, and I would have knocked the motherfucker out. Not really. I was a tiny ass kid. I wasn't knocking anyone out, but I would have been super steamed.
Right?
Like, how fuck would that have been to just be playing some rich ass kid? And he's just like, you get up there and maybe you get ahead by a touchdown. He doesn't like the way things going. He's like, fuck this. And he digs into his little fucking quarter dispenser. He's boom, 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 boom. Then he has Bo Jackson, basically.
What if it was worse than that and you could play on your own, putting in a bunch of quarters and get better, and then somebody else just walks up and they're just level different, and you don't even know, you're just playing, you're just getting crushed.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's a good question.
How do you know you're walking into?
Yeah, how does the continuation go? So if you are a person playing alone, you think that the person coming up wouldn't want to just join the game you were playing. So I wonder how that exact functionality worked. You know what I mean? And then also, if you finish a game one player, do you get to keep that team and play another game with that progression having been achieved? It's a lot of questions. That's what I mean. It's such a deeper way to have a football game. What are you doing, yo? You hear that crazy ass noise? It's like a dinosaur in his mouth running around cooing at me. Anyways, super, I don't know, just way more interesting than most arcade football games of that era, or maybe ever. I don't know. I guess I haven't played a football game in a fucking arcade in a while, a new one either, but it just seems like a lot for an arcade game.
Right. That's probably why we didn't see too many of those with microtransactions in that.
Yeah, man, yeah. But pretty forward thinking in that regard, I guess. That is the WCW Wrestling on NES menu theme, bringing us into Act 2 of GamePro 7, and the first thing we got here is our man Francis Mao coming back with Chapter 6 of The Adventures of GamePro, and this one is titled Deadly Games. And California Games is the setting for Totterino this month. They really didn't take any swings at comedy like I thought they would with this more lighthearted setting. You know, we talked about, like, how are they going to approach California Games? Like, you'd think it'd be a little whatever, but it's, like, very super serious the whole time.
Very straightforward, yeah.
Super bummed out by that. It climaxes in a roller skating race where Todd and the baddie disqualify each other and are transported into Ghouls and Ghosts as the next game setting. So that will be installment number 7. After that, it is ProView time, and the evil imperialist Nintendo and their diabolical NES comes first, as it always does for the ProViews. And the first thing we have is Hot Bees Black Bass, and for the sports extravaganza that lay before us here. And we have a new reviewer name that I like on this one. Brother Buzz is who reviewed this game, and I don't recall seeing that name yet as a reviewer. I had not noticed this before, if it's not in the first instance, but at the end of all articles on games in this issue, they are putting the MSRP for the game. And I like that a lot, because I guess I like numbers. I don't know. It's $39 even for this. Track and Field was $29.99 for that, so they even had it in that Pro Classics thing. It's not just the Pro Views. And I'll say it again. I think this is a good game, dude. I know you for the time. This is a good fishing game, dude. And I will admit, I do not, however, think it would be fun to play right now for a lot of reasons. But at the time, I think it was a very good fishing simulation that I did enjoy playing, and I don't think should get shit on regularly like it does. End of topic. I know you don't like it.
I don't understand the game. I tried it. Like, hey, I don't.
Dude,
I don't
it's a
love
simulation,
fishing.
bro. You have got to read the manual to fucking understand. It's a simulation game in 1989. You're not gonna be able to just pick it up and go. You gotta fucking.
It's also still fishing. So even real life, I'm like, I've got to be like hanging out with people I really want to spend time with, like with a beer, like. I got to be doing other things to really enjoy the fishing, like the act of itself. It's like, yeah. So
for the time, it was.
I'll leave it alone.
Granted, I fished as a kid, so that was part. I'm sure there was some overlap there. But after that, we get Asmic Corpse Top Players Tennis, and that's playing second fiddle there to Black Bass. And I'd never heard of Asmic. They have a handful of other titles I'd never heard of as well. So I'm guessing they kind of came and went without much hubbub as far as being a developer for the NES goes. And this is a tennis game, as you would imagine, based on the name. And it's endorsed by 2 tennis players I've never fucking heard of. Chris Everett and Ivan Lendl. Not that I know who any tennis players, like maybe Andre Agassi. And that might be it.
I mean, I've heard of a lot more, but...
Yeah, the twins.
But everybody's later than that.
Yeah,
I don't know if I heard of them by 1989. You know,
I'm struggling right now. There's another big one from this era. There was Agassi, Andre Agassi, and then another Jimmy Connors. I don't know. There's a few that if I saw the names, like, oh yeah, Pete Sampras. Yeah. There's one for you.
But wasn't he after this?
Maybe, I don't know. But doesn't matter. I'm just trying to name. Dude, I'm not going by era here. I'm just trying to fucking just demonstrate some level of tennis familiarity.
But surprisingly enough, dude, this is a fun game.
It's pretty fucking good. I mean, as best as I can tell about a tennis game, I don't have a lot of basis by which to judge, but yeah, I mean, it's got a great looking title screen. The cutscene and menu artwork is really good. It has 4-player functionality that works with the NES satellite and the 4-score, so you can get some heated 2-on-2 doubles action, if that kind of thing floats your boat, you know? So that's fucking cool. 4-player thing is not every game by any length at this time, so that's cool. And you can make your own player, and there's a stat distribution aspect to that. So, you know, I mean, Todd was definitely a brute force player when I made my guy. So, like, you know, like, it's just cool. Like, you have like, as you make your character, like, you have little tennis rackets for a bunch of different little skill categories. And whether, according to I wasn't able to win to tell, but according to the copy here, whether you create the player or you use the pre-made ones, your player develops their skills as you play. And that is RPG elements, baby, and I fucking love those. There are voice samples that are pretty fucking legit, a lot of them in the game, you know, for the different fucking 40 love or whatever the fuck the scoring system is for tennis. So yeah, man, like, I mean, you know, the gameplay seemed pretty fluid, decent by NES tennis standards. You know, it's got the whole, like, it makes you have to choose between backhanding and forehanding or whatever. So there's and like which side of your body the racket is when you're hitting. So like the physics, I guess, that make up the nuances of tennis are semi well represented here. You know what I mean? So right. Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know. Like, there's not really anything I could bad about. I could say it other than you have to play tennis while you play it.
I mean, the small sprites threw me off at first, but like, and I'm definitely not good at this game, but I wanted to keep playing, and I felt like I was starting to get the hang of it, and that's odd. Like, tennis is not a sport I played growing up. Like, I would talk smack to tennis players in high school for fun, like just to challenge them, just for fun, like when I was a senior, because why not? Not being serious about it, but it's not even a sport that I really know much about, but it's still fun. It's because to me, it's kind of just. It's like playing badminton. Like, I've played that all my life, so it's kind of like similar concept. Let's go. You know?
I played the shit out of Wii Tennis, dude. That was good as fuck.
Wii Tennis was fun. Yeah, yeah, Wii Tennis.
Yeah,
everybody's played Wii Tennis. That was a jam.
Right. Yeah, that was fucking great. See, I played.
Why is there not Switch Tennis? Is there a Switch Tennis? Like, why did they not?
There's probably 75 Switch Tennises.
Why is it not talked about? Like, Wii Tennis was a blast. Like, why do I not know about this? Like, right. I need to look it up.
It's Wii, and it wouldn't be any fun. That's exactly why. Same reason you're Switch bowling.
True.
Yeah. So yeah, this is not a sport; it's an activity, but it is $44.95 MSRP for this game.
And premium. A little premium over Black Bass. I appreciate that.
A little bit premium for a fucking NES game, I guess. Although it's not the most premium by any link. The next game is High Tech Expressions' Chess Master, and chess is definitely not a sport, definitely an activity. And it's probably a solid chess game for the NES. I mean, I don't really play chess games on the NES, but it looks pretty good. The MSRP is $49.95 on this one, so come correct with your wallets, chess aficionados.
I didn't have the ROM for this, but I'm fairly certain I played this as a kid.
You did actually. It's in our ROM library. You had it.
Really? I looked and I tried to.
It's I don't, it's
I have a different chess. I have battle chess and like another chess, but I don't have this specific
battle chess is cool. Maybe I'm not. I might not even have tried. I may be lying. I may be making that up.
But I know I played it as a kid and it was fun. But I was a chess dude. I was in chess club as a kid, so I like it.
I like chess too, but I didn't want to play it on the NES. I mean, I have a sweet ass glass board that I wish I played more, but I do not.
Yeah, but if you want an opponent, to have a computer opponent play against you, that was my thing as a kid. Like, I would have people to play with a lot, so like having the computer sign me up.
Yeah. Battle chess is fucking awesome. That was super cool.
That's fun.
Like base course, to get to the base and fucking battle for the spot. That's cool. That's fucking super cool. So after that, we get another fucking FCI and Pony Canyon collaboration, World Championship Wrestling, aka WCW Wrestling, the lesser of the two fake wrestling entities from the 80s and 90s. And they start you off here with a pretty slick slideshow of all the wrestlers: Ric Flair, Sting, Lex Luger, the Legion of Doom operating under their bullshit WCW pseudonym, the Road Warriors. What a rush! They're on the box art too, as they should be. I fucking love them and their spiked shoulder pads. And there are a bunch of others with normal names that probably made the jump to a cool name later, and I just don't know enough about this dumb shit to know who they became. But and that's kind of, I think you were already on when I went over to my buddy Shawnee's house like 2 summers ago or something. Now he still watches wrestling. Like it's funny too, because like I don't know. It's not like it's weird. Like, adults that watch wrestling are such a thing. Like, it's such an interesting psychology thing. Because like they clearly know, at least most of them, maybe not all of them, most of them realize the complete absurdity and stupidity of it, but are still somewhat they dupe themselves into the belief level enough to entertain it, and like the psychoanalysis of that is very interesting. But he invited people over, and it was SummerSlam or whatever the fuck it was. And dude, I hadn't watched a wrestling pay-per-view event in fucking 20 years. So, right. And like they don't have, none of them have names now. They're all just dudes' names, which is
Really?
it was so fucking lame and dumb to me that they all Chris Jericho is one I can think of offhand right now. Like they're all just dudes' names. None of them have cool names, and it's like, what the fuck? That is awful. Like it's
Sting.
absolutely
like
awful. Yeah, exactly. Fuck Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage. Fucking it's there were a handful of
warrior.
Yeah, there were a handful of wrestlers like Shawn Michaels, but even he was the Rockers first, So like, there's just a lot of things that like it's like the
Axe and Smash of Demolition. That's
exactly, yeah, like fucking, it's just Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Bret the Hitman Hart, like just so much about Sergeant Slaughter, like so much about that shit was just like the dumb charade of it, like to take that away is just wait, what is left? What is left? So yeah, so going through and like the guys with real names, even back then, like that must have just been, I don't know, must have been such a bummer. Like I don't know if they got to decide that or like who decided that. Like, no, you're just gonna have your name, bro, and you had to be like, oh man, really? Like fucking, I can't nothing. I can't like get nothing. I can't come up I'll come up with something, man.
like if you come up with something better, we'll wait. Yeah. Something unique and original right here. Like
had such a bummer. Anyhow, the in-game sprites, animation, and controls are all pretty fucking terrible in this game.
Dude,
and it's still so upsetting. It's still probably better than the WWF WrestleMania one though, the one that's already out on the WWF side.
I don't know. I used to play that one a ton, and I feel like I thought I played this one, but it's so terrible from a control standpoint. I'm like, I had to have hated
this. But it had the meters and like there were little things, little mechanics that came closer to the first good wrestling game I can think of, Royal Rumble on Genesis.
Oh, that Royal Rumble.
The meters and the the 6 buttons and all that shit. Like that's one I've reclaimed. I have.
Nintendo, I think it was
right.
The game, yeah.
Yeah, there were a few good ones. They had a few of the events came out on carts on the 16-bit era that were really good. But yeah, they had the meters and there was like the characters had specific things and like there was like good grapple mechanics and like they were trying to do that here. Where I mean, the WrestleMania on NES is just, I think it's just punching and kicking, and then you like it's super hard to get into
you're like, how do I get into the right grapple move?
Slam? Yeah, you can't. Like I think it's way more opaque. This one it was kind of cool actually. You go through the menu at the start and you like pick your moves, so you like a little bit of
that was cool.
Custom ability with the actual moves you use, which is cool. So yeah, I mean there were like things that were better, but overall it was not fun.
It's just tough to get into the grapple. Like I felt like I was just getting whooped every time. The dude's just kicking me before I could like get on the right plane, like you would if you were playing like Streets of Rage or something. Like it's just not working. I don't know, man. It's just
whoever the fuck I picked. I don't know if it was the guy I was playing against or me. I'm not even sure. But like whoever the fuck I picked, I got thrown out of the ring, and then like the second we both got outside the ring, a wrench came flying out from underneath the ring, and the guy just fucking caught me up the fucking head with it. I was like, that's pretty cool. You get props and can whack each other with props and shit. So just like that's like in Royal Rumble, you just had the chairs, which is cool too. But it's cooler that like it would be cooler because that is very. The heels in particular will like hide shit underneath the ring and stuff like their manager or something will like hire an object and like the manager distracts the ref and the guy fucking hits him over the head with something, like that.
That's why I wanted to like this. I wanted to like this so much. I just, I couldn't.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, I had never played it, but I mean, we FCI and Pony Canyon, we should have known, dude. I mean,
it's not batting it out of the park.
Yeah, it's ruining our life on the fucking side quest right now. It's not gonna fucking make it any better here, probably. It is $2 cheaper than the chess game, though. Explain that. The next one is American Sammy's Michael Andretti's World GP. And this is not out till June, so I don't have to deal with any racing games. It's a Formula One race or two, which is extra meh for me. It's also definitely not a sport. It's an activity, albeit a very dangerous one. And then we get our tried and true 2-banger for the Power Glove. Fuck that, we're not going to talk about it. And then a time that closes out the NES shit and turns our attention to SMS. And Walter Payton Football is first, and we've talked about this before. And I love that you weren't even sure you thought it had to be a Genesis game. You're like, I can't find the Genesis ROM, dude. Like, yeah, dude, that's not a fucking Genesis game. I think Walter Payton is he's not dead by then, but he's definitely retired by the time the Genesis comes out. So. Which is why he was a horrible choice to license for the SMS version because it was like on his last leg. But Yeah, it's not horrible for an SMS game, but no thanks. And the MSRP on it is $51.99, the highest we've seen. Get a fucking grip that it costs more than any fucking NES game, you know?
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah. After that, we have Casino Games, and that is the casino minigame joint with a decent little pinball game built into it. We've talked about. So nothing really, anything even remotely new for the SMS, fittingly so. I mean, what, you know, although they were supposedly releasing new games for it still, which is fucking insane.
Right. Which is insane. We're developing 8 more new games. Like, all right, well,
well, I'll be on the Genesis. Thanks. Good luck with those. A Trade West ad for the NES Double Dragon we have not seen is in here, and it's real. I think it's cool, like a cool ass ad. It's like a monochrome artwork of the two brothers nose to nose, and the headline reads "The Ultimate Dragon Slayer" up top. And
it's fascinating that they have an ad for Double Dragon when they also already had an ad for Double Dragon 2 at the very beginning of this.
But you know, and that's, you know, it's marketing. So much of marketing is about like brand familiarity and stuff, and the idea that you could sell both carts to someone. They're probably like, yeah, like it'll multiply. It's like a multiplier effect. You know, like trying to sell that to the comment. Yeah, it's got. Like I seen this ad. It made me look up the definition of ultimate because I realized I didn't like maybe know exactly what it meant. And I was like, the definition is the best achievable or imaginable of its kind. And I was like, okay, that's good choice then. That'd be the definition of ultimate. After that, we have that Tecmo wrestling ad, which still isn't out yet. April is when it drops, but I'm confident it is going to put the licensed WWF and WCW bullshit we've seen to absolute shame. I don't know if you know that game firsthand, but
we shall see.
Yeah,
we shall see.
If I recall correctly, it's a pretty fucking good wrestling game.
I did play Tecmo Baseball after looking at this ad, though, because I was like, have I played this game before? And I hit back home runs with Cincinnati, so it's got to be a great game. I don't know if have you played this before.
I think I have tried it. It's in line with the Super Tecmo Bowl feel, is it not? Like the team selection. It feels very. It's like the baseball version of Super Tecmo Bowl, right?
That's how I feel. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's
baseball game. Not bad. Yeah. I think they did a similar, like the Tecmo basketball that comes out a little later. I think is kind of the same deal. It's like a Super Tecmo Bowl version of basketball, although probably not nearly as fun. That's my guess, because basketball is tougher on the NES. Genesis is next, but it is disappointingly all sports games we've already talked about because they're in that main Genesis 3-pager ad that we keep seeing. They have Tommy Lasorda baseball, Arnold Palmer golf, and World Championship soccer, and it is a $59.99 MSRP for the first two, $39.99 for soccer, which is about right, I guess. Well, I don't know. Golf sucks too, and it's just an activity; it's not a sport. But
well, that's a tough one. I don't know.
That's definitely that super. If a fucking 80-year-old man can do it, it's a fucking activity. It's not a sport. Get a fucking grip. It's fucking just not.
Oh, that's great.
Or I'm not calling it an activity. I make this again. I'm being redundant here. Calling it an activity does not mean it's not hard. Like, I am awful at tennis, golf. I'll never be good at it. I don't have the patience for it. They are incredibly difficult. But they're incredibly difficult activities. They're not sports.
But tennis is not a sport. You're saying tennis is not a sport. It's an activity?
Not a sport. It's a fucking activity. Fucking activity.
I think Venus and Serena Williams would disagree.
Weren't you on it weren't you on that episode? Haven't I already given you this show?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. All right. Well, here we go. It is not a sport because a sport to me requires a strategic team element to it. And yes, you can play doubles tennis, but fuck you, there's no strategy there. You're just whacking the ball back and forth. I need a team-wide strategic approach, a collective team-wide strategic approach element to the activity to make it a sport.
So then boxing is an activity in your definition.
Correct. No, I don't, there's a lot. It's still not a sport. But there's a lot more strategy than people give boxing credit for sure.
Agree.
But again, it's not interdependent on other human beings. The interdependency of strategy on your fellow teammates is what the defining characteristic for me to qualify as a sport.
Interesting. Very interesting definition.
I've never made the claim I'm not an asshole. At this juncture in my life, I was really hoping the slot section would have some fucking games that I actually had an interest in playing, because the ProView lineup is absolute dog shit for this issue. I was so bummed out at the end of the ProViews that like literally nothing I want to touch yet. And I had forgotten when I was reading through this part, I had done the first section of the mag and put it down for a while. So I had forgotten Revenge of Shinobi was in that early ad. So there was literally, at this point in my mind, I was thinking that there is nothing yet I even kind of want to touch.
Oh, I felt 100% the same way, because I did the same thing. I was like, what this? I got nothing. I got nothing right now.
I was fucking bummed out. And like I started thinking, I was like, our next episode is number 50 of the pod. And it would be like so nice to have a commemorative episode that wasn't on some total bullshit that no one cares about. You know, I was like, we have to choose some awful game for our 50th episode. That'll be such a fuck you. That
Arnold Palmer golf episode.
Yeah, like, fuck you. Yeah. So after that, we have a ton of ads peppered in here, and through the TurboGrafx 16, Atari 7800, and Game Boy Pro views on sports titles we thankfully do not need to address, unless you want to take us through our Atari corner for the month, Jay, which is actually, it's one of the, I don't want to play it, but Mean 18 is a cool ass golf game name. I like that name for a golf game, and I've never seen anything like it elsewhere.
I have to agree. It's funny. I wrote down in my notes, I was like, I hate to say it, but the thought of playing golf on my beloved Atari, hard pass.
Although, in its defense, they appropriately priced it at $34.99.
They know what they're doing. They know where they stand.
They knew how fucking budget. Yeah, the base is loaded on Game Boy is $24.95. So you can get a Game Boy game for $10 less than you can get
and more value. Much more
way
value.
more value. Yeah, way more value. And yeah, the TurboGrafx games range from 54 to 42 that are here. So that's kind of the economic analysis of our ProView section. And there are two ads after that we haven't touched on before, so let's discuss, or in there rather, that we haven't discussed. One is Acclaim pitching their wireless controllers, the Double Player, and I fucking love this ad. There are two dickhead teenage waspy kids, Bradley and Todd are good guesses for their names, and they're nose to nose with dead serious looks on their faces, you know, like what they're going for here is like heavyweight boxer way in, you know, toe to toe. I don't respect your mother. Postures
with their sweaters and their button down shirts underneath. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I never wore that as a kid.
Yeah, I didn't. Sweaters. Fuck sweaters. I hated sweaters. I hated sweaters, and I hated denim like with a passion as a kid.
But I've seen this ad so much as a kid. Like looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember seeing this like Double Player. Like it would like. In the ad, they would shoot red laser beams from the controllers.
No, like that's their old ad. We've seen that ad a bunch of times. They're
right, but there was a video like version of this as well, I believe, where they also did it.
Because we are going to talk about their commercial here in a minute. Foreshadowing. But they did. You're right. Yeah, lightsabers. You're right. Sorry. You're right. That's what it is. It's like the lightsaber deal. You're right. Sorry. But it's, yeah, so I've never used these before, but they're Acclaim, so my guess is they're total shit. If I'm wrong about that, please hit us up via email or Facebook or Reddit and let us know that I'm a negative piece of shit and wrong by all means, but my guess is they're not good. And there is also an ad from a company called Share Data, and this game is called Chiller. And the artwork is some pretty cool zombies in a graveyard action that I like for its grittiness. I saw this ad and I was like, oh, that's like pretty, I don't know, not kiddie artwork that suggests maybe the underlying game has some maturity to it too, and you don't always get that on the NES, so that's kind of interesting. And this is the game, as we mentioned, they're touting giving away on the cover, so they're highly aligned with GamePro in this issue. And there is a sleeved arm reaching in from the vantage point's perspective, a la first-person shooter, with what I'd maybe interpret as a wand in its hand in the ad, you know? And like it's shooting a burst of energy at a hand reaching out of a grave. That it's kind of hard to say. Like maybe the hand is shooting at the wand, or maybe the wand is shooting at it. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say based on the way it looks. But in any event, that's kind of interesting. Is my point that that first person think like fucking Doom kind of arm thing, you know? That's not a thing that's not like you think about that now. That's how every fucking first person game is. That didn't exist yet. So
dude, you're my mind is blown that you're even thinking this way. I look at this and I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at? like all I see, like an ad for a game. Is this a game? Like all I see is it says chiller, and I'm like, 2-player simultaneous action. Where? What? But at the bottom, like in a big square, at last, affordable arcade cartridges now available to play at home. Like to order what? Like am I thought this was an ad for like one of like all these other ads behind it where you're like ordering cartridges from some company. Like, so I didn't know. I was like, what is Chiller? Is this a company? I have no idea what I'm looking at. You're talking about first player shooters. I'm like, what? This is an ad?
Everything you're saying
it's so confusing.
Highlights the fact that there are no screenshots. The reason, or rather, I think is dependent on the idea that there are no screenshots. And the reason there's no screenshots, Jay, is because this game is fucking terrible. And it looks absolutely like dog shit. So smart marketing, don't even put any of that shit on there. That's why you feel that way. So
well, they definitely would have never gotten my money because I didn't even know it was a game. Like I thought this was like a storefront thing and they were selling games and it was called Chiller. Maybe they're selling scary games. Like it just for Nintendo, I guess, for playing on Nintendo. Like this makes no sense to me. This is the worst. This might be the worst ad we've ever seen.
And not having. Well, I know. Again, the art's cool. It might be the worst in functionality.
Yes. Yeah.
In marketing functionality. Not gonna argue with you. Honestly, I hadn't thought about it until now. But you might be right in pointing out that it might be the only ad in this magazine for a game without a screenshot. Like that might be like
you legitimately can't tell it's a game. Like until you said that at the beginning, I'm like, wait, so it's a game. Okay.
Well, Jay, fuck you. If you read the copy, okay, it tells you. It says
I read it. I still don't get it.
At last, affordable arcade cartridges are now available to play at home. And affordable in a marketing context always means it's shitty, but you're knowingly accepting that in exchange for a reduced cost. That's the definition of affordable in a marketing context. So I saw that.
But I have my affordable cartridges I've been playing at home. They're called Atari. So are you selling me Atari games for $19.95? Because they're not. I mean, you're selling me Nintendo games? Like, what is happening? Is this a reseller? You're not selling me on this. Like, it's terrible. Throw it out.
And they also have the thing going on here that I love. It's happened so frequently back then because it's just there wasn't a universally defined and accepted vernacular for video games, whatever. So yeah, it sounds like they don't understand the technology they're selling in here. It says arcade cartridges now available to play at home, and like the questions like all cartridges for NES have always been available to play at home. That is not a now new. And what in the fuck is an arcade cartridge? Like it's just they just don't. There's clearly a disconnect between people who play games and understand what they mean to some degree, the verbiage, and the people who design this ad, and like they don't play. You just tell they don't play games. You can just tell they don't play games. It's like, again, it's like that your parents talking about it, and they don't care. They never want to know about it. They don't. You try to explain it to them, they're not paying attention. They don't care. And like that's exactly what the people who made this ad. That's the kind of person they are. They're never going to play video games. They have never played video games. Fuck off.
Like you made a game. All right, we're gonna sell it. All right, this is where I'm gonna go and sell it over here.
Right? Yeah. Now shut the fuck up talking about video games. Yeah. They have a legal disclaimer at the bottom, letting you know that Nintendo in no way assures you this isn't a massive pile of shit. So that was probably a smart legal decision for them.
Yeah, there's no seal of Nintendo Power seal of quality or whatever.
Definitely not a licensed video game. Yeah, and I was absolutely fucking shocked this was in our ROM library.
Is it?
It is. Yep. I fired it up, thinking there's no chance that was gonna happen. So I fired it up, and dude, it's incredible, man. It's truly incredible. It is a whole new level of unplayable atrocity. Like, I posted a play capture of what I guess is the first level on our social, so you can see.
So that's what that was from. I was working and I saw it and I couldn't. I didn't know what game it was from.
Yeah, and like I don't know. This little bit of over analysis for me. So I tagged. So you know, when I post those play videos, Facebook has the feature that lets you tag what, like, you can choose activity, play video games, and you can choose the video game in a lot of cases. And it's usually the Facebook page of the video game. And some of these older games don't necessarily have pages. It's almost just like a wiki thing or whatever. So you can tag whatever. And I found that when I went to tag chiller, there was a chiller. I didn't click on, I don't know what it's for. Chiller is a very basic word. It could be anything, right? It's probably not this video game. But I tagged chiller, and as the whatever the page is that you tag has the option, as Facebook does in general, to remove the tag. So the tag was removed after I posted it at some point. So whatever that page actually is, and again, I didn't even bother to click on it or look it up, but whatever it is, did not want to be affiliated with that fucking post. And I chuckled at myself when that happened. When I noticed that was the case, rather, on the post. But
oh man,
so I will say it is probably marginally better with the light zapper, because that's the thing. You can play this game with the light zapper or the controller, right? And in the controller case, it requires use of a very slippery crosshair, kind of like Operation Wolf gives you both options.
Oh, that's a whole different game then.
Yeah, exactly. It's never fucking good in NES context. It just doesn't fucking work well at all, ever, really. Operation Wolf's kind of playable, at least. This is not. But like I said, if you had the zapper, maybe it would be a little better. But even if you remove that slippery crosshairs complication that it adds to the gameplay of this game, it just looks fucking awful. And there's no way it is actually fucking fun. It's like this basic static screen with just like the most basic repetitive shooting gallery move, like carnival shooting gallery movements, like a baby carriage moving back and forth 8 pixels in front of that church on the top left, and then like the hand reaching out of the grave is like, I don't even know what it is, or I think it's throwing a skull. Actually, I do know what it is, but so it's just repeatedly throwing a skull into the grave on the right hand side of the screen, and like that was what I kept, like, for some reason, because it is the most motion in the thing, so I was inherently drawn to it, and trying to get that shitty crosshair to hit that skull flying through the air. Not happening. No, any human being can do that. Go fuck yourself. There's no chance. So like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I was playing it and I was thinking of the kid that gets stuck with this game and how sad they would be in their room alone, like trying to make the best of it because it's the new game mom got them and they just have no fucking choice. And you just would be so broken and defeated and sad. You know, it's just like, it's absolutely hysterical to my cold, dead, empty heart. Think about that poor kid. Yeah, that's chiller. After these messages,
we'll be right back.
For this mission, you need the acclaimed double-player dual wireless controllers for your Nintendo Entertainment System. With slow motion, twin turbo rapid fire, head-to-head or team play. Get Acclaim's double-player system. The power to move ×2.
Welcome to the Crazy Train of Thought, brought to you by the Idiot Savants. Now in stunning Technicolor, soon to VHS. Come forth, Jimmy. Do you like trains? Do you like games?
Oh, yeah.
Do you like discussion?
Oh, boy, do I.
Well, do I have a podcast for you. Join conductor Ryan Wolf,
hi,
as he hosts a cadre of clever comrades as they delve into the new frontier of video games, jaw-dropping news, and captivating commentary. Go off the rails with the Idiot Savants and tune into the Crazy Train of Thought.
But sir, what does this have to do with trains? I actually don't understand.
So get your tickets and climb aboard.
Hang on just a second, hang on. We haven't even mentioned trains. I mean,
catch a ride.
You usually start with Thomas the Train Engine and then forward up to the Industrial Revolution.
Is this kid with anyone?
I mean, we're leaving out the Transcontinental
Where's
Railroad.
Your mother?
Vanderbilt, Trans-Siberian Express, the Polar Express.
Where is this child's parents?
I don't even hear any bells.
That was an Acclaim commercial for their double-player wireless controllers that we mentioned in the last segment. And this is 2 kids doing a heavily choreographed lightsaber dance with their controllers in their hands. And the power to move ×2. That's the tagline. Super brilliant. And after that, we got the Idiot Savants. Resident Carnival Barker was also in there pitching their awesome gaming pod, Crazy Train of Thought. And their retro-inspired artwork arouses me sexually. So check that out. Their podcast is also good. They tried to show us up with a 4-hour Game of the Year convo on their last episode. And fuck you guys. We are the long-winded champions of the game potting universe and routinely going over 3 hours. And I told them we will not stand for this shit. And in response, we would be making a 5-hour episode out of this Game Pro issue. So to prove my point. So I don't know. It seems like we're actually kind of cooking along a little faster than them, unfortunately. So,
yeah, surprisingly, for once. The sports episode, who knew?
yeah, what the fuck, man? Anyways, Game Pro number 7, the SWAT Hot Tips is first up here, and the holy fucking shit, oh my god, kill me now. These are all sports games too. Like I was going into this like, oh, SWAT will have a bunch of different shit. It won't just be sports games, but nope. What are we gonna play, dude? What the fuck are we gonna play?
We've talked about them. We've played them. I'm like, we've played hoops. I've played track and field too. Like, just like
with all these, man. Yeah, I was so fucking scared to like sit down and like look at my option set when I was done with this last section. I was so scared at what that pool was going to look like.
Dude, I was going back. I was like, what did I think? What did we not decide upon last time? That we, you know, like
it's gotta be in the mag. Though. That's the thing, though. It's got to be in the mag, even if it's only a race appearance. We can't just pull shit out of the ether. It's got to be in the mag. So that's what I mean. We are limited in that if we adhere to the rules. So onward in here, our gaming lineup that we have not already seen in this issue is for the SMS. We have Black Belt, Super Tennis, Enduro Racer, and Great Football. On the NES, we have Racket Attack, Hoops, like you mentioned, Track and Field 2, Rad Racer. That's not a bad game. Bases Loaded, RBI Baseball. I kind of like that. ISOH Alum, Blades of Steel. Can't do that again because that's a great game. That would be really fun to play, actually. Because I did that with Jab. We have Slalom, which is a black box. Fucking skiing game. That is definitely don't want to play that. Ice Hockey, which is kind of fun, but I don't know. There's not a game episode there, I don't think. And John Elway's Quarterback is a fucking horrific football game. And Tecmo Bowl, which we've talked about, but we have agreed that we're going to hold out for Super Tecmo Bowl and we're not going to play the first one. So that's not an option, right?
Yep.
And then, wait for it. Like almost like they understood. Like I was reading it and like I told you all the fucking anxiety I was getting. And like it's almost like they understood the suspense we would be in 31 years later for this podcast recording. The last thing they have in here is Mike Tyson's fucking Punch Out. Dun, 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 dun. We're playing fucking Mike Tyson's Punch Out, dude. We're playing the end of episode. End of episode. Okay, bye. Okay, we're not gonna end there. We're not gonna end there. That's fine. But yeah,
it's funny that you say that because I was originally thinking about that, and I also originally had Mike Tyson's Punch Out music in this episode, which I took out on purpose just in case.
Okay.
But I was like, I beat this game. But like,
you beat Mike Tyson's Punch Out?
I beat Mike Tyson's Punch Out as a kid. Yeah. So
you don't say it like it's like, oh, boy, obviously, asshole.
Dude, that's why it's hilarious to me because I know that you haven't, and I was like, how have you never beat it? But I also remember picking it up within the last I don't know, probably sometime in the last 5 years. I picked up Mike Tyson's Punch Out again, and yeah, because I don't remember any of the patterns, so I was getting whooped, and I was like, man, I don't remember the freaking patterns. Thank God.
I still, because I used to be able to get. So I've already said this a million times in this podcast. But I used to be able to get Sandman, no problem. And now when I play, Soda Pop and Ski fucks my shit up, man.
Soda Pop? Dude, that's disrespectful. I'm done. Okay, we can't.
This absolutely dusts me off, man. And fucking, it's got to be, it's the TV. It's the shit's not, the equipment's not right. Like equipment fail. It's definitely not user error. Yeah, I bucket it. So I don't know. You know, maybe if I sit down and play it for 2 weeks, maybe. But the appeal, especially with our options here, is high as fuck. And that game, I mean, it's the greatest Nintendo game ever by my measure. So the idea of making it our 50th episode also excites me a lot. So, and it being our 50th episode, Jay, I will quit this fucking podcast. If you try to get me to play a tennis game for our 50th episode, I'll fucking quit.
I definitely was not going to recommend. The options were very low. Same thing. All this episode, I've been like, well,
There's a few things. Like
Truxton was a blast. Like it's a fun game, but it's not sports. I'm like, super hang on. We'll talk about, but I got nothing.
Out of this little pool here, and like I said, Revenge of Shinobis earlier, and that could be something I could talk about. But out of this pool, I would listen to RBI Baseball and Rad Racer also. I think those were interesting and fun games. I question whether there's enough to talk about for a game episode, but again, if we didn't have any other options, I would listen to conversations about those. But yeah, there's not a lot had been built up at this point.
Yeah, gotta agree.
Yeah, SWAT. So things that stood out to me here in SWAT. Speaking of Rad Racer, the tip they have in here where you hit start repeatedly while crashing to cheese less time being drained is a pretty fucking hot tip, dude. And the really cool thing about it is it's the perfect application of that slow-mo button on the Advantage, you know? That's basically just hitting start repeatedly. It would be, you just tap that and you could, the whole time you were fucking, until you were back on the road, then turn it off, you know? That's a cool ass tip. So I like that. And then mildly interesting, they devote 2 pages of pitcher player attributes of every team in bases loaded. And I'm guessing these aren't in the manual, or are we redundant to put them here? But like because I mean, I have 2 and I have the manual for 2, and they have like rosters for each of the teams and like player attributes, speed, et cetera, et cetera. So it's weird to me that this wouldn't have been included in the first if they did have
maybe not. Maybe they didn't. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was actually going to say this is impressive statistically for the time if they had it all. You know, like, oh,
yeah. Bases loaded 2. I mean, I've said before, I think it's the best baseball simulation on the system. It's like, yeah, statistics, the pitcher, like your statistics game to game, because each player has this biometric thing that you after the game you go through it, each player on your team, and it shows you there's 3 different variables that are like, I can't think of what their names are now, but they're basically like they're like adjustments. They're real-time adjustments to the base stats. Like all your characters have base stats that I think are like, they're expressed in the manual as statistics. Like, you know, your fast guy has a lot of stolen bases. Weir on Jersey, which is the team I usually play with, Jersey, has like 31 stolen bases, I want to say. It's crazy that I remember that. But fucking because he's super fast, you know. But when you like your players can get like in a slump and have like all negatives on those adjustments, and then they'll play like shit. And you have bench players that you can sub in. You can check their biorhythms and check and sub players in the next game. And then your pitchers, when you go to change out pitchers and at the start, you can, like, before you make the choice, it will show you their biorhythm, so you can decide on your relievers based on what their current biorhythm is. So yeah, like, I mean, crazy depth in the second one. So, you know, I would assume the first one wouldn't be quite as deep, but I don't know.
Maybe that's why they released these then, you know.
But yeah, 2 whole pages dedicated to it, so that's no fucking effort on GamePro's behalf here. They consolidated the GamePro tips and reader tips into one all-encompassing section in this issue, and that's a sensible choice that I liked. So I inherently trolled through for any Ohio contributors. And ding, 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 we have one Kevin Butler from Kevin, Ohio, North Coast. What? But Kevin has. It's fucking cool, dude. It made me happy that it was a Cleveland kid, because he figured out how to cheese the living fuck out of great football on SMS, and it's kind of a crazy thing. So he sorted that you can intentionally and reliably throw an interception on the point after play after scoring a TD, which sounds weird to me. Like, 2-point conversions weren't a thing in the NFL yet. So, I mean, it's great football, so it doesn't have to be NFL they're styling after, but you would guess they would. So, I don't know. You're a college fan. Did they have they had 2-point conversion back then in college, right?
Back then, did they? I don't know if they did back then.
Oh, that would be.
I don't recall it. Actually, no, I don't recall it being a thing back then. But I could be wrong.
Okay.
I don't remember. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I thought it was weird that, you know, if it's not a 2-point conversion, you can do this on a fucking fake field goal for a point after. That's even weirder. But in any event, he sorted that you can intentionally and reliably throw an interception on the point after play after scoring a TD, right? So you try to throw an INT, and then the defense gets the ball, and for like some broken game ass reason, the game only gives the CPU 1 play after that happens. And then they will, like, whatever happens, unless they score, I guess, they have to kick off to you just as if they score, but without the points, you know? So what it means is you can score a touchdown and just cheese the ball back to yourself over and over again, which is like a, I don't know, like a super obscure, weird thing to discover in a football game. And like, you know, what's the fun of it? But like, you know, I don't know. He says that you keep repeating the process as long as you keep scoring touchdowns. And I don't know, bravo, Kevin, you broke the fucking game. Like, knowing how to swindle a prick video game on the North Coast, that's like something we're good at, I guess, you know? It's like, Jay, wait till you see, since you like this game too, wait till you see my onside kick cheese game with Ronnie Lott in NES Play Action Football. You are going to be fucking livid when I pull that shit on you. You're going to want to fucking punch babies, dude. I can do it I can onside kick so reliably in fucking NES Play Action Football.
We'll see about that. I cannot wait till that game comes out. Like, I forgot when it was coming out. So when we got to this issue, I was like, NES Play Action Football? Is it in here?
Maybe that.
Not yet.
Yeah. No,
too early.
Come out for football season. Remember, that's the whole thing. They like delayed it. Ended up being like almost a year, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting. The only code I really tried, so I picked up John Elway Football, you know, to try this out. And the game obviously is meh, but the code kind of worked. So there's this code, Stephen Ross from Millbrae, California, has like a trick to where you can pretty much score a touchdown every time. And like, it doesn't work reliably, but the first time I tried it, it worked. Where like you snapped off immediately and like just chuck the ball. Like
it's like live basic game, isn't it?
It's so basic, and so like it reminded me of like, yeah, it's your very early generation like football. Exactly. I didn't want to say it. I held back, but you said it for me. But it's basically that. So yeah, it worked, and I was like, oh great, I scored a touchdown, but I'm not having fun with this game. So moving on.
Yeah, the Atari football is fucking great. It's like you move the whole line together, like all three guys would move together in unison. You couldn't even individually control players on defense. So bad. The game's so terrible. I still play. I would play it all the time when I was a kid. I played it all the time.
Oh yeah, that and like ice hockey. Like I use this "who needs goalies" tip that they did all the time because I would go to my cousin's house who was like 2 years older than me, and he had a Nintendo and I did not. And he had ice hockey, and it was a freaking fun game. I don't know if you played this game. Like
I have, yeah,
blessed.
Yeah, I have ice hockey. That's good.
Like for a sport that I've never played until freaking Delta Chi stuff.
We talked about that before. Like I hate hockey. I can't. It's like unwatchable as a sport to me. But the games, I have always loved the games. Like on every system, there's a fucking ice hockey game that I enjoy. You know, so yeah.
There's one on Super Nintendo, I think, that I used to play all the time. Maybe it was just called NHL Hockey. I don't know, but that was like a solid.
Yeah, NHL Hockey. The Genesis ones are like, you know, fucking so renowned. Like I had everyone loves the first NHL PA 93, I think it is, because that's the one where you can fucking draw blood. You can fucking the scene from Swingers, like watch me fucking super fan number 99 over here. Watch me fucking knock the Wayne Gretzky out. Like fucking Vince Vaughn. That's a great scene. Fucking super fan number 99 over here. Yeah, so that's 93, I think. I actually liked the gameplay in the very first one though, NHL Hockey. That's the I have the card for that too now for Genesis. It's really fucking fun, even though you couldn't make people bleed. You can fight though. And that was the thing. They would take the fighting out later, but you had the blood from the injuries. You know? So like, or 93 might have been able to fight and get blood, and then going forward they took the fighting out, and then maybe eventually the blood too. So like it got you know, as things go, as life goes, entropy, things just get shittier as we go. But it was the first one was the funnest one to me. In any event, the short pro shots. Sorry, actually, before we get out of there, the last thing is a whole page of punch out codes and shit. And the last being that Nintendo phone number password that returns a busy signal when you put it in. When you put in Nintendo's phone number, it gives you a busy signal. And I still haven't done that in my life. And seeing this is like, it's basically an opportunity to fulfill my destiny. As I railroad us into playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out for our game episode, it'll give me the opportunity to try that finally. So I'm looking forward to that. And after that, we get short pro shots next, and things got a little bit like, you know, I was fucking frazzled about that being my only option at this point. But things get a little better here. Amidst a lot of NES trash, we have WrestleMania, NFL football, 720, All Pro basketball, etc. There was a beacon of truth in that. This is where I found out Bases Loaded 2, Calico, had come out in January, and that's crazy that we haven't seen any mention of it. Like, I feel like we've seen Bases Loaded since then, even the first one, but no mention of Bases Loaded 2 being out, and that's crazy to me because obviously it's a new game. Why the fuck aren't they advertising it? You know? Yeah, I don't think we've seen that. So, yeah, I have the cart. It's fucking damn fine baseball simulation. I'm sure I talked about it when it happened, but when last time my Uncle Ted visited fucking LA, we sat and played this for a week together. Like, we played co-op this all the fucking, or not co-op, but pass the controller inning to inning, you know?
Nice.
Yeah, and the music in the game is so fucking repetitive, yet I absolutely love it. I also tried Tengen Super Sprint for the first time, looking at this, thinking maybe I hadn't, the Tengen ad, thinking maybe I hadn't played that yet.
Oh, yeah.
And it's basically just a really boring version of Iron Man Stewart's Off-Road. Like, it's like a top-down, like a straight top-down racer where it's like controlling a go-kart or a remote control car, rather, you know? Yeah. But it doesn't have any of the things that makes Stewart's Off-Road cool, or all the hazards and stuff that your monster truck has to jump over, and this is just a straight track, so it's just like it could not be more. It's the worst racing game you've ever seen. It's so fucking boring. So that was kind
hard pass.
Yep. Yeah. And then Ultra's Kings of the Beach is also one I picked up and fucked with, which just really left me missing Super Spike V-Ball. Is really all that did for me.
Right. And I think that's why I didn't pick it up. I had like an aversion. Like, the music was good from it, but I was like, I feel like this is the one, like, I'm not messing with it. I feel like this is the one I don't like, because I know Super Spike V-Ball is the game I do like for sure.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that, because it's Ultra, which is Konami, and their music is always fantastic. So it's funny, you're like, I just know the music's good, but the game.
Exactly.
So there's only one SMS game in here, Basketball Nightmare, and I was like, never heard of that. This sounds fucking fun. Dude, there's no US release for it, though. It never actually comes out in the US, so it didn't happen. It only hit in Europe, Canada, and Brazil, and it figures. Yeah, I mean, it sounded like a kind of a cute, interesting approach to basketball, like a high school team, and then some of the players are monsters, and like all this, you know, interesting, weird shit that is different than just an everyday basketball game. But not out, so fuck it, can't do it. After that, we have oodles of ads that we've seen here too, but the next thing of note is Pro News Report. And the first thing in here, oddly, seeing as it was out for Christmas and there's been 3 issues since, is the premiere of The Wizard they talk about, the movie. And
still talking about it.
Right, yeah, exactly. We've hit on this ad nauseum, so, you know, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I did want to take a moment and acknowledge their list of other TV and movie stars making the scene that were not in The Wizard. So they're talking about the premiere of the movie, and they're just talking about who was there, like the red carpet shit. And the names they list are Lou Gossett, Ned Beatty, Jill Eikenberry, and Henry Winkler. And like, there's nothing wrong with that list. Like, those are all like, except Eikenberry I'd never heard of, but looking her up, she did nearly a decade on LA Law. And while I'd never watch a fucking crime procedural or court procedural show that's boring as fuck to me, I get that. I know that LA Law was a big show, so like I can see why she's there too. But it's just I don't know, something. It's just a snapshot of a time so long ago, you know, that this list of people was noteworthy to them. It's just like, I don't know, it's just such a time capsule.
Like Lou Gossett headline. Right. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like honestly, it pissed me off that it's not Lou Gossett Jr., which it should.
Yeah, that threw me off. I was like, wait a minute, is that his dad? Like, is this like?
Right? Yeah, no, it was fucking him. Yeah, he's the fucking shit. And I look at him, and his filmography is incredible. He's in so many good movies. But I was pleased to see he's still rocking and rolling. Age 84, he's still kicking. So that's cool.
I saw him in something like over the holidays, I think it was. I was like, oh yeah, still in the game. All right.
Yeah, he's fucking great, man. They tease Sega releasing their arcade Power Stick in here, and it was hot too, but this is actually the 3-button predecessor to the sexy 6-banger that I have showed you last episode. Jab had this one, actually, or I don't know if it was this exact one, but very close to this is the one Jab had, which I used to talk shit to him about, that he had these shittier 3-button ones.
Dude, they talk about a couple hidden gems in here, though. So I don't know if you saw this. It says Acclaim is working on developing something for really hardcore gamers.
I didn't see this.
Any idea what game that could be?
From Acclaim.
So I was curious.
What's
that?
Oh, so it didn't even tell you. It just
it's like they're just working on this upcoming. So I'm like, what game could this be? So I pulled up a list of games, and I'm like, okay, if this is early 1990.
Okay, go.
I'm like,
I've been in this shit.
So these are my guesses because I'm looking at 1990, and then I'm looking at 1999 or 1991. Like, what actually came out from Acclaim?
This is February though. Like they're talking about something in 1990 for sure.
Yeah.
Unless,
so I'm like,
no, I guess I shouldn't say that.
Potentially.
There is the possibility that, like, things get delayed. Fucking NES Play Action Football got delayed a year. You never know, I guess. But
they could have slipped, right? So if we just look at 1991 first, we have Double Dragon 2 on Game Boy, but they're not coming up with that. We have Double Dragon 3, which had a lot more functionality, had a lot more moves. Like I remember picking it up the other day and thinking, like, wow, like I forgot how much more you could do with this version. I don't know if that's for hardcore gamers, Right. Also, The Simpsons, Bart versus the Space Mutants. Did you ever play that game?
Yeah, that is the Gary Kitchen did that one. The Kitchen brothers did those games. The NES Simpsons games all came from them.
So it could be that one, which was tough, but also fun. I don't know. I'd never beat it. So
they're actually, again, I hate to say it, they're terrible. They're really bad games, actually. I mean, it's that licensed property, and they do a good job. Like they did a good job of IP adherence, of like honoring the IP well and accurately. They do a really good job of that. But the actual game, it's just like Boy and the Blob kind of. It's like just pretty clunky and bad controls and shit. But yeah, the Space Mutants one and the Krusty's Funhouse are both games I definitely fucked with pretty hard. I mean, I was into The Simpsons hard, So
yeah. I mean, it was kind of hard not to be back then. So I don't know if it's that, but then I
don't think that's hardcore game. Like, that also doesn't read as hardcore gamer to me,
But then we have from 1987 to 90, we have a list of games. So it could come. Not sure when the dates are, but there's Narc, which I found not fun and also hard. I don't know if that qualifies. Did you ever play that?
Yeah, I played the arcade version of it, and I think I rented it as a result. Like they had that arcade machine in my game rental store, so I think I might have rented the NES version because I was playing the arcade version at the store. And yeah, I don't think I was too impressed. It's super. Actually, Jab and I talked about this at one point. I think for some reason it came up because we had that rental store story, and it's like crazy adult material. It's like crazy. The subject matter they get to in that game, and it was very much like a war against drugs propaganda game. It was it's like I want to say like Barbara Bush is involved with it. Like there's it's like a fucking there's a whole
I didn't know it was that level.
Yeah, there's a whole political component to that. Then when it does come out, we'll have to talk about for sure. But
yeah, based on that list, man, I got nothing. Like there's other games on this list, but I'm like, they're not talking about Arch Rivals. That's a great game, but it's not for hardcore gamers.
Right. Like the hardcore gamers, it's so ambiguous that it's hard to really parse what that could mean. Well, my best guess out of all that is that they're talking about Double Dragon 3 because Double Dragon 2 had just come out. It's a huge franchise now. Like if Acclaim's gonna tout anything, it's either that or the Wizards and Warriors series. I think there's 3 of those.
There is Fortress of Fear, Wizards and Warriors X, supposedly. But that's a Game Boy game.
That's the Game Boy game one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's 3 for NES too.
It comes out in 92. So I guess that's possible.
It's a ways off though.
Took a while.
Yeah, I blew right past that because there was no game and fuck Acclaim.
Side note.
Yeah. And they mentioned Tiger Electronic releasing a sports handheld with digitized voice capability, and that's what sent me down that rabbit hole that made me post that shit on the social shit. I didn't have the Tiger deal that they're referring to here, but I had what is called the brand name was VTech, and the name of it was was Talking LCD Baseball. It was a Talking LCD Baseball game it was a 2-player machine. Like there was it's like a big piece of plastic that had a controller on each side of it and then a little LCD screen in the middle, and then the actual like marketed name of it was Talking Play-by-Play Baseball. And yeah, dude, I mean, I played the fuck out alone too. Like you could play, it had 2 players. You could play head to head with a human being, but it also had a CPU game to play. So yeah, my lonely ass sitting home fucking playing it all the time. And yeah, I mean, dude, it was like the team names were etched into the plastic on the thing, the Eagles and the Buffaloes. And so like it had, I want to say 2 red buttons and then a little green directional pad that was like just awful for your fucking finger, like pushing. It had these raised bumps on it that I just remember like fucking your fingers up and shit. But I played the fuck out of it anyways. And yeah, you could bunt. It had directional pitching with that D-pad. The voice of the actual play-by-play, or rather was of actual play-by-play. It wasn't just like play ball or like it wasn't just like random.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't just stock random.
It would say like it's a fly ball. Like it would like play-by-play based on what was happening in the game. Which for that, it said actually when I looked it up, 1986 even. So it was pretty old. Wow. It wasn't even around. And that's 5 years before when this shit's coming out from Tiger. So yeah, super impressive in a lot of ways, given when it came out for sure. I ended up actually on eBay very close to pulling the trigger on what was it was only a $20 price range, and I was like, ooh. But I was able to regain my composure. And talk myself back from the ledge, and I didn't order it. So I'm pretty proud of myself.
Nice. You know what they also talk about though, man? It says they're working on a game for Domino's Pizza, which of course becomes Yo Noid.
Yeah,
it comes out next month. Like if we were 1 month earlier, I'd be like, we're playing that game. It's fantastic.
I don't know what you know. I for some reason just randomly watched. It might have been a gaming historian video or something. I get in these kicks where I watch fucking dumbass shit on YouTube and learn a bunch of useless information. I just watched one about that. I want to say it was like in Europe or something. Yo Noid was or maybe in Japan. It was like a legitimate original property game. And when they brought it to the US, they just licensed it and skinned it to that Domino's.
Really?
Character. It was not originally designed as a Yo Noid game. So like the original one was actually like a popular game that seemed to be kind of original and interesting based on what I was watching this video. So when I saw that, because you look at that and you think like the 7-Up game, which actually supposedly is pretty good too. Funny enough, I don't recall ever having played it firsthand, but the 7-Up Spot game is supposedly pretty good too. Whenever we get to that down the line, but usually when you see those licensed games, your expectation is like dog shit.
But Yo Noid was solid, man. Yeah, it was actually one of my favorite games. It was
designed as a real game and not just a licensed cash grab piece of shit. So, we'll talk about it later. I didn't notice that either, but yeah, that's. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with that, obviously, because those they were showing the commercials and stuff in that video I was watching. I had forgotten all about those commercials, and they're super interesting. There was a big lawsuit, a crazy ass thing that happened. I will save it because it's a crazy rabbit hole. Dude. Like some dude shot up some shit over that character. That's why they stopped using the mascot, because he shot up a fucking. Yeah, he shot up a Domino's back before people shot shit up. A long time ago. Over like the character, I think his name was Noid. Like he had like it was something about his name, like, and he wasn't all there mentally, and like he like took offense to his name being used for this, and he fucking shot some shit up, and that's why that mascot went away. So pretty fucking wild story.
No wonder. I wonder what happened to that, because that was my jam, but that was my game. Like I have such strong, fond memories that I had no idea.
Yeah. It's something. Like I said, it was like I didn't want to say it happened in '92, if I recall correctly, is when that happened. So yeah, it was rather short-lived. Of what was, it probably bummed them out because that was a very popular ad campaign. I remember that vividly.
It's one of the first games I emulated once I got the ROM library from you. I was like, Yo Noid, yeah.
The shit to you.
Anyway,
the child in you is hilarious. So there are a bunch more ads we've seen following Pro News, but there is only one in here that we have not encountered, and that is the Topps magazine ad. So Topps. We're referring to the sports card manufacturer here, and I was collecting baseball cards in '89, '90 still. I hadn't clicked over to, very shortly after that, I would click over to football and I would kind of leave baseball behind in general. Like I stopped playing like around third, like between like somewhere between third and fourth grade. I kind of like got off baseball and got into football, and then I stopped collecting baseball cards and started collecting football ones, yada yada yada. So I was kind of surprised that since I was still collecting baseball cards at the time, and Topps was kind of like I remember I had this cool ass. I think it was either 88 or 89 Topps is what I put in, and I don't think it was set specific because you could divide. Well, you could divide up any way you want. You had stickers. Anyways, it was this big baseball, like a real life size in my memory, anyways, like this huge oversized case, molded plastic with a little latch on it. You opened it up, and it had slots in it that you would put your baseball cards in, and then on the inside of the cover, you could put all the team stickers. So like the way I remember doing it was I divided them up by teams, and then put all the cards in there. And like I want to say it was 88 or 89 Topps was the set that I kept in that case, So I was into baseball at this time, and I'd never seen this before. I didn't know. I don't recall this, and I would have been like fucking on it. Especially the issue they show in here is of the first issue, this hot ass Jose Canseco one, dude. I was all over the Oakland A's, the Bash brothers.
Everybody was.
Yeah, Mark McGwire, Ricky Henderson, fucking Jose Canseco. Who was the pitcher with Dennis Eckersley, the fucking hot ass closer they had.
And all those cards. I still have them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I still have them somewhere too. They're because I kept them in that shitty fucking plastic case, all fucked up. Yeah. So I was like, oh, you probably can find a scan of this. I went to archive.org and started hunting around, and shockingly, I could not. Usually, you can find everything on the internet, but I could not find any scans of any of these. I was able to find, covers and shit, but I wasn't able to find actual scans of the mag, which really bummed me out. But I would have been bonkers about this back then, for sure. It's neither they have a little order form in the corner, of course, and it's $9.97, which is a weird ass obtuse number for 4 quarterly issues. So like $2.50 an issue basically was the cover price on it. Yeah, that was interesting. It's got me thinking about card collecting and shit as a kid. Like, what was your card collecting action like back late 80s, early 90s?
Right now, I was the exact same with you. Fully into baseball. I have this massive baseball card album. I had a secondary Cincinnati Reds only album, because even though like in high school, like middle school and high school, I would just grow to support the Yankees more because I went to much more Columbus Clippers games, and then obviously moving to New York, I just kept,
I never thought about that. I've always thought you were kind of a cunt for being a Yankees fan, but that's
no, man. It's I would go to Columbus Clippers games so often, like it was like a fun activity. So like for me,
I think I went to one the whole time I was in Columbus, I believe. Pretty sure I went.
Yeah, it was just like fun, It was one of those things that I could reliably get my parents to take me to go do because it was cheap. Yeah, it was a blast.
Expensive. They're always doing deals and giving away shit at those minor league games.
I saw like a freaking Destiny's Child concert when I was younger, and I was like, I'm running up into the field. I'm like 6 feet away from Beyonce. I was convinced she was looking at me and giving me the eye. I'm still convinced to this day.
I told that story about me and her, right? We were still living together, I think, when that happened.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I was all about the baseball cards at the time. All about them. I think the Reds won like the 1990 World Series. I was watching my little gray small TV that I had, and yeah, like shortly thereafter, by the time I was 12, I just got more into basketball. I was playing it and just like baseball.
It was more football. But like basketball was what you could play every day at lunch, and I kind of started, even though I was tiny, I still got into playing it. And then it was just kind of the cooler thing too. So I would like, I never like it was. I remember being self-conscious about it actually. Like I remember, like I watched, like I consumed football voraciously immediately, man. So like I knew, like I was knowledgeable and confident about talking with dickheads at school about football and stuff. But I remember like collecting basketball cards and like not watching enough because basketball is hard to watch. Because it was like football was on Sunday, the game, it was just easily more consumable to get an understanding of it and to know things about the players and the teams and shit. It was just easier.
Everybody's playing today. It's Sunday, like that's what's
exactly.
happening.
So for whatever reason or another, I wasn't able. Like I remember being like super self-conscious about it in like 4th grade of like kids talking about basketball and like trying to act like I knew what the fuck they were talking about. And like I remember like Mark West for the Suns. I remember like this kid, Jessa, what the fuck was his name? He was like, this kid was like an all-star athlete by like age 10. He was always like, and he like kind of like later in high school, I think he had a fucked up home life or something, and he wasn't able to fucking stick with it. But if he could have like kept his shit together and played sports all through high school, the kid would probably be fucking, he would at least been playing at a D1 college or something, if not fucking, like he was that level of good at everything. And I remember like talking with him about fucking, and I remember like having this argument about Mark West for the fucking Phoenix Suns. And like, I think he was fucking with me, and he was like trying to like get me to agree with an opinion about Mark West being good that he didn't believe, but he knew I was full of shit, and he was like calling me on it, and like whether or not I would just agree to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember like having this weird ass exchange with him in 4th grade about Mark West, and looking at a 1990s 91 hoops card, the gray, the silver ones with the, of Mark fucking West. Like,
Of all people.
I remember the card. I remember the shot. He's shooting a free throw. I remember the card so vividly.
Tried to pull your card on the card.
Yeah. So yeah, like I wanted to be into basketball cards as badly and shit, but I wasn't. Did you fuck with any non-sports stuff?
Like as far as collecting, comic books.
Comic book, even like the non-sports trading cards though. I collect comic books too. That's a whole fucking thing we can get into.
No. So just the sports trading cards.
Okay.
Yeah. Like mostly baseball. I didn't really get, I had some football cards, some basketball, but I didn't really get into them. It was like 99% baseball cards. And then kind of once I started getting away from baseball, I just stopped collecting cards, really.
I stuck with it. I mean, once I got into football, I stuck with football all through high school even. I have like my Buffalo Bills card collection is insane, dude. I basically have every Buffalo Bills card. I'm not joking, not exaggerating. I have every Buffalo Bills card through probably like 96, 97, about when Eric Moulds came in. Like the back half of high school, I started to get off it a little bit. But I collected the late 60s, cards started. I want to say the first real football sets were like 67, maybe Fleer, and then Topps came in right after that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, except for like there's a handful of like really pricey cards. Like I don't have OJ's rookie. I have every other OJ card, but I don't have his rookie, which is 1970 Topps. I don't have like Jack Kemp's rookie. I don't have that. There's like a handful of like Hall of Fame Bills that I don't have the most expensive card of from that era. But I mean, every card in the 70s, every card in the 80s, like I have every single fucking one of them. And then the 90s, like you all you had is like up until 1989 for football cards, all you had was Topps. Like from like 1970, Fleer goes out of the game, and it's literally nothing but Topps from 1970 to 1989. And then 89, Score, and I think Fleer, and then Upper Deck and Score come back into the picture. And I think Fleer comes back right after that. And then from like 90 to like 93, it's like there's like a huge boom, and there's a million sets, like Stadium Club and fucking all these. And there's like a million fucking new sets or different sets come out. So from like 91 to 96, having every card in there was a fucking job, dude. Like going out and fucking like going through singles boxes at card stores, buying a million fucking packs. I would buy the whole boxes and just rip through them all, trying to make sense. But it was way more important to me to get all the Buffalo Bills than that. So yeah, I've to this day, I still have actually brought, I left, like I have a lot at Ted's house. I have a ton of memorabilia, ton of football cards. I have brought with me when I stopped driving out here. I stopped and picked them up. I got the Buffalo Bills box, which is like a 5-tier. It's a 5,000 card box, basically. This massive fucking box of all Buffalo Bills cards. And then I also have a box of, I was not only collecting old Bills cards, but I really liked the old Topps sets, basically. So like I have a ton of, I have fucking Dan Marino rookie. I have fucking Warren Moon rookie. I have Marcus Allen's rookie. I have John Elway's rookie. I have fucking Steve Young's rookie. I have a ton of Earl Campbell's rookie. I have Marcus Allen's rookie. I already said that, I think. I have a ton of like 70s, 80s, Ozzie Newsome. Like I have all these fucking really awesome old cards. So I brought those too. But yeah, a ton of fucking football cards. That was so
Dude, that's impressive. That I started kind of falling off because there were so many sets. Like you said, like I had like
it got fucking.
I got this set and this version. I have this version. I was like, I have so many now. It started getting ridiculous. Like
and that was it's hard to say what my 16-year-old, 17-year-old brain was probably more just girls are more important now. But I think a lot of the reduced enthusiasm was because I was like, it's insurmountable. Like I can't get them all. It's fucking too much work. It's expensive and it's just too much work. I think that has a lot to do with why I quit fucking with it. But anyways, that was a tangent I didn't mean to get into. I also fucked with a lot of comic book stuff. Back at this time, I was also fucking with a lot of comic book stuff. The Batman movie cards were in '89. I had I got the full set of those. Those were fucking awesome. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon card, actually, and the movie and the cartoon.
Yeah,
the cartoon was a 88 card set that Topps did. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was 132 cards, I want to say. And I got I got the full sets of both those. And then the Marvel Universe Series 1. Do you remember those cards?
Oh, I do remember those. Oh, I think God. I might have had some of those now that you mentioned it.
The holograms, there were 5 holograms.
I remember the holograms. Yeah.
Silver Surfer, Wolverine, Magneto.
Was there a Storm one?
Not for the first set. I don't think there was only one X-Man. I think it was Wolverine. But they did subsequent series of these too, so they could have wear it. I'm sure there were more X-Men.
I definitely had some X-Men cards now that you mentioned.
Then there was an X-Men,
but I don't know how I got them, but I definitely had some.
Yeah, they were at the comic book shops for sure. Yeah, I mean, I built the full set of those from packs, like just getting 1, 2, 3 packs at a time when I would go to the rent. They had them at that same rental game store that with the Campus Video that Jab and I used to go to. And I would convince my dad to buy me a couple packs of them. So yeah, I built the whole set from fucking packs from there one at a time. It was pretty good job, I think. Age 10, 11, me. Yeah, I still have that whole set. That set was worth a ton of money at one time. I'm sure it's all the old cool shit has subsided in value in relation to the newer kind of like extravagant shit they do now. All the old football cards aren't worth shit now because the stuff that people buy, like the game worn jerseys and fucking jockstrap fragments and whatever. Certificate of authenticity jockstrap. So that's kind of a bummer, but yeah, that was the shit I was into back then. Anyhow, pages 93 to 94 are the new thing that the cover mentioned, the letter to the editor mentioned. The Game Pros rate the games, and they are asking you to rate probably 50 games across 4 platforms in 4 categories: graphics and sound, playability, difficulty, fun factor on a scale from 1 to 10. And
by next month.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, by next month, you mail this shit in, and then they're choosing 500 entries of that will win a free copy of the shittiest NES game ever that we learned of a little bit ago, Data East Chiller. So yeah, it's no Nintendo Power sweatshirt or anything, but even that game, winning free video games is cool. I think even as shitty as that game is, you get that for free, and you're still excited as a kid. Winning anything as a kid, you're fucking stoked. So.
Can you imagine what it would have been like to be a kid and to have the money and the access to all these games to be able to do this?
Well, yeah, I like how they specifically mention don't guess. If you haven't played the game, don't put anything down. Like they're trying to steer you to being ultra authentic and they're trying to gain marketing data here, so they don't want you to fuck it up. They're trying to
don't vote for the game just because you like the way it looks or you heard about it. No.
Yeah, only firsthand experience. So, what would you rate Dance Aerobics on NES, Jay?
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Ted had that because I think Phyllis, my aunt, may have. I don't know. I don't feel like I ever saw her do it, but maybe she expressed interest in it at one time. I'm pretty sure he had that cart, if I recall correctly.
RC Pro-Am Slalom. I think I played Slalom. And
it's all sports games in this case, so it's fun. So the only other thing of note here is a pretty big time back cover ad from Konami we have not seen, at least in my opinion. Not if there's anything in there that jumped out to you, and that it's basically just a shitty ad stretch of things we've seen already. Yeah. But the back cover ad is cool and it's new. It's for 2 sequels: Super C, the follow-up to Contra, and Snake's Revenge, the kind of sort of nothing whatsoever to do with Metal Gear Metal Gear sequel, and neither game comes out till April, so we don't have to get into the games in depth. But like, they're no question highly anticipated for both publisher and players at this time, and then therefore were warranted buku advertising dollars, and that's why they're already advertising here months in advance. So Snake's Revenge is under the Ultra Shell Corporation banner of Konami that only existed to skirt Nintendo's publishing rules, and it's kind of fucking amazing how they made no effort whatsoever to distance the two labels publicly. Like, they're just putting them on here, and like,
here we go.
One's Ultra, one's fucking Konami. Like, clearly we don't give a shit, and I don't know.
Because the public doesn't know and doesn't care right now. So it's
right.
like, hey, it's a game. I'm going to buy it.
But the thing is, the whole, like I said, the whole reason they have to create that shell company is to skirt Nintendo's rules, right? So the fact that they didn't, what it demonstrates is that Nintendo clearly had favoritism and let them do whatever they wanted. And it was just like, when other developers would go, what do you mean fucking Konami's doing it? Like, they could go, no, those are two separate companies. Even though you have ads like this at the company be like, fuck you, dude. Like, what do you mean?
That
like,
would not hold up in today's education system.
Would not hold up at all. So as far as what this ad's about here, it's very much shock advertising. It's two newspaper front pages side by side, dominating the top third of it. The first newspaper reads, "Terrorists Go Nuke," and the name of that paper is titled "Bad News," which is funny to me. And then the other headline on the Interplanetary Press reads, "Aliens Master Military Minds." So, they're like, world is ending. Yeah, exactly.
Aliens or terror? What do you want to?
How do you want your world to end, or what world-ending story? How do you want it to go? Yeah, and then the tagline below that is, "If the world ends tomorrow, it's all your fault." That's a lot of
pressure, man.
It's a lot of emotional weight to put on a kid. I think that's heavy-handed advertising for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know that I ever beat Super C, so I'm interested when we actually get to that. I'm like, did I ever beat Super C? I don't know if I did. I got far.
I definitely, just in general, I don't think, even though, I know it's revered and I'm not saying it's a bad game, but I don't think it meant as much to me as a kid at all,
Yeah. Well, Contra is kind of special, it's like
for sure
different game.
Yes. So I want to just go ahead and read the copy on the back because it's interesting enough to do so, I think. So here we go. Konami and Ultra are putting you under the gun by giving you the power and strength to save mankind from certain extinction. In Super C and Snake's Revenge, two mega-hit mega-wars, you'll be bombed, blasted, and befuddled by the great alliteration there, by the vile alien Red Falcon and the world's premier madman, Hyarola Kakamimi. From the onset of these onslaughts, they'll fight you tooth and claw with thousands of... That doesn't make any... That's bad syntax. They'll fight you tooth and claw with thousands of planet-blistering weapons. And if your rocket launchers, flamethrowers, laser guns, and supreme wits fail to overcome multiple levels of mass destruction, civilization will cease to exist, and you'll have no one to blame but yourself. So yeah, I don't know. They clearly spent a lot of money and time on that. That's no thrown together passage. So I wanted to give it its just due. But yeah, that boss's name in Snake's Revenge, Hyarola Kakamimi. Like, I rented that game once. Like, because I owned the first game and I fucking loved it. We've talked about that extensively. We did a fucking game episode on it already. And I remember, like, even with that pre-existing affinity for the property or the IP, I was like super unimpressed with that game. And I rented it the one time and had no interest in ever revisiting it again, So, yeah. Are you ready to talk about playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out?
That is from Super Hang-On when you enter your name. And funny enough, this is the first time that I played a game and then had to immediately go download the music for it. Like, I was going to have Mike Tyson's Punch-Out like in that spot, but I'm playing Super Hang-On. It was the first time I'm setting up a new emulator. I want to try this game. And for a racing game, it's fun. And immediately after my race is over, I'm putting the computer down to write some notes on it. And the music starts playing, and I'm like, that's a great theme. Like, where is it? Like, I need this track, like, right now. So that's the first time that has happened since I've been picking music. So
that's cool. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Great. Good music. Yeah, it's funny how frequently, and it's funny too, the first two you chose are menu themes from what was it? WCW Wrestling and Kings of Beach or whatever the hell, Kings of the Beach. I often find that like menu password entry screen themes are usually tracks I like, at least from good soundtrack games. So it's I don't know what the and it's funny too, because that's like one of the times you're most cognizant of what you're listening to. So it's a neat idea to think that there is conscious effort put into those particular tracks in video games because of the level of attention that probably gets drawn to them while you're just mindlessly and maybe painstakingly putting in some sort of bullshit text via a NES controller or something, you know. So yeah, that's cool for sure. So yeah, man, fucking Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Mike Tyson's Punch Out, dude. Like, is there anything else to talk about? Yeah, I would, like I said, I would listen to Revenge of Shinobi. I would listen to Rad Racer. I would listen to RBI Baseball. I would listen to Bases Loaded 2. But I think we should play Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I think it's 50th episode. I think it's 50 Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about any of those games you listed. Like like I said, I played Super Hang-On. I was like, how do we make an episode out of this? Like Truxton, we've talked about. Like, it's not sports. It's in the episode, but it's a blast. But I have no strong feelings about any other game from this episode. So
yeah. There's definitely nothing else in here that even comes close otherwise to being worthy of a commemorative episode for sure. So like that is
top of it. Yeah.
That is its own basis. But on top of it, like a lot of it was early, maybe before you got on board. But like, we talked about doing Mike Tyson's Punch Out a bunch of times. I've said it many times, it's my favorite game. Like, but we talked about like whether or not there's a game episode there. I don't know. But like, especially again in this context, think about like, like we need to talk about each of the characters and like all the fucking fucked up stereotypes in the game. Like, there's just a lot to talk about. There's a lot of meat on the bone for sure. Ton of strategy. Obviously, some of those later boxes are hard as fuck, and like the actual.
I'm already mentally thinking ahead, like, oh man, that's going to be such a hard fight now.
I have the cart too, dude. So I'm probably going to be over there playing on OG hardware like a fucking Nimrod instead of safe stating through some of the latter things just to be able to beat it for the first time in my life. So yeah, I certainly refuse to beat it not on OG hardware for the first time in my life. So
that's fair. I'm actually concerned about beating it again. I'm like, can I beat it again? I don't even know right now. I'm not feeling confident about my abilities.
I just don't believe people. Like, I don't believe it. I fought Mike Tyson's a million times in my life, dude. I don't see how people do it.
I did. It took a lot of practice. I remember being super excited, like
I would have
through the moon. Like
now,
like I'm the champ. Like
I'm 39. I will probably. I don't even know. I don't know. I have no idea what my reaction will be. But I definitely that's kind of the interesting thing about it too. Is like there's certainly we played all these games. Like even like I mean that wasn't for a game episode, but like I beat Metroid for the first time after this pod started, kind of because of the pod. There's been other games, the Ghosts and Goblins I beat because of this. There's been other games that I beat for the first time because of this, but nothing even close to like the lifelong albatross that Mike Tyson's Punch Out has been. So like the idea of like, I don't know if I'll do anything, if it's possible to even compare anything else that we'll do for this podcast with the level of accomplishment that I would feel if I were able to beat legitimately Mike Tyson, particularly in the pressured context of for this podcast. So that challenge is highly appealing too. The forced challenge is cool. So
nice.
All right, let's fucking play Mike Tyson's Punch Out. That might be the shortest one of these we've had, and we'll play that for the next episode, and then it'll be back to Nintendo Power for a near and dear issue to me, number 11. So that's my first issue of my subscription when I was a kid. So I'm looking forward to that, and that's got a big thing on the cover of that too to talk about. So that's exciting. We will likely do a little bit of Ultima side questing action. Peppered in there beforehand it's not a guarantee by any length. We already skipped one, but hopefully that'll happen. And you can subscribe to the pod on the platform provided by whatever dumbass company that serves up your pottery. Please rate and leave positive shit for the pod on whatever platform you do listen to if you enjoy our nonsense. The website is nyehentertainment.com/ISOHpod. You can email us directly at isohpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the pod and banter with us on the Facebook page and subreddit and talk shit to us about our gameplay videos on our YouTube. The links to all that will be in the show notes, as it always are, or always is rather. And we do not have a Patreon, but if you'd like giving money to things podcasters tell you to and would like to do so at our direction, the Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities, and that's cool as fuck. ablegamers.org is where you can find them. That link is also in our show notes. Jay, what are your socials?
You can catch me, Gentleman JB, without the second E, pretty much everywhere. That's my gamer tag. And yeah.
You can find me on Instagram at MyShiftKeyIsBroke, on Twitter at Josh Folan. My gamer tag is 2Minute Todd. Okay, bye. Fuck you, Mike Tyson.
Bye.